All right. I think we're good to go. Yeah. I was saying I'm loving the questions that you were writing in with. They're all over the board tonight. So I'm super excited to get to them, to talk to you, answering your questions, giving you some insight from my experience and what I've seen. I've been at this a long time. And so it is really interesting how, even though times might have changed a bit, or you're writing in from different places, different parts of the world, the things that we go through are actually very similar, and the patterns and the reasons why we find ourselves in the situations we do, they're very similar. And it has been really interesting over the years just to see how the same things keep happening, and the same problems and the same patterns and the same situations that we find ourselves in keep reoccurring. And so you're getting the benefit of seeing what other women are going through and what others are going through. All it's universal, a lot of what we're feeling and sensing. So yeah, and you're never alone. I think that's, if there's one thing I want to drive home, no matter how crazy or how strange you think your question is, or your situation that you're in, there's going to be someone who is going through the same thing. There's going to be someone who is in the same predicament, going through something similar, and probably even more strange or weird or crazy than you think yours even might be. So there's always someone who is going through this with you. Okay. No matter if you can't see that person or you feel alone. Um, let's go to the chat, and feel free, if you did not get a chance to send your questions in, because last time I realized there were a couple people who responded to the email at the end. And so if you didn't get a chance to get that in, feel free to type your question in the chat. And at the end, after I've answered my scheduled questions and whatever other ones I am able to get to, we'll go to the chat and we'll answer yours in there. So it's great to see you here. Hi, Gail. Nice to, yes, and I'm actually answering yours, Gail. So I'm glad you're here too. Jennifer, hi Jennifer. I'm so glad you're here too, joining. And anyone else, can you tell me where you are today? There's Diana. Nice to see you. So far, I know we've got Florida and California, and Gail, I'm not sure where you're chiming in from, but I love seeing where you're coming from, and I love knowing what parts of the world you're at. I think most of Europe is sleeping right now, but they're the ones who we this time, if I go earlier, I'm able to get them, but I think most of them are asleep right now. Australia, yeah. Hi, Chrissy. I think I'm answering I might be answering one of yours. I'm answering someone named Chrissy in here. And Audrey from Miami. Oh, you're nice and sunny and warm there. And Texas, great. So we've covered. Yeah, we got all around the U.S. there, and then Australia. I'm sure we'll have some more people chiming in from Australia. There's more people usually. With this time, we hit it right. So I think Europe's still sleeping. So anyway, much love to everyone out there, and in the replay. If you're going to get this in the replay when you're awake and I'm on your normal time zone, I'll be speaking to you over there. Okay, even if I'm not in person live. All right. So yeah, like I was saying, feel free to write in the chat if you have questions that come up. I will get to those at the end, and come back and address those. All right. So the first one I've got comes from Lori, and Lori's asking a question that I get a lot. So I want to start with her because it's a really good one. Lori, are you here? If you're not here, and you'll get this on the replay, I'm going to you first. You're starting us off, and thanks so much for writing in. And your question is a very short one, but it is a really, really important one that like I said, I hear a lot. So Lori writes and says, my question is, why am I good enough to have sex with, but not good enough for a relationship? What am I doing wrong? Okay. So, I mean, that just resonates with so many of the women that I get who are asking this question. I mean, if this question isn't asked directly, it's like underlying, right? Like, why do I get the crumbs? Why am I not good enough for a relationship? Which takes us right back to the good enough thing. It's about me, right? It's about me. It has to be that I'm not good enough to have a relationship with, a full-fledged relationship, but I'm good enough for sex. So it's got to be about me, right? I'm doing something wrong. Okay, so the very first thing, and the reason why I picked this one to go first, because this one just, whew, yeah, there's so much in here in your two short sentences. So Lori, thanks for starting us off with this one, because the very first thing in here that is all wrong is that this is about you being good enough, okay, or worthy, as comes up a lot. That it's really, we're talking about proving ourselves, proving our worth, proving that we have a right to love, the right to a relationship, the right to a man who's a quality man, good looking, attractive, all the other qualities we're looking for, right? Like, why am I worth someone like that is the inherent question that really is underlying this. Why am I only good enough for sex? Why am I not good enough for a full relationship? So this is not about you being good enough for a relationship. This is 100% about you communicating clearly that you are willing to settle for sex instead of a real relationship. That is the only reason why this happens. The only reason is because you are communicating that I will settle for just sex instead of a real relationship. And you won't even realize you're doing this. It's not even you may not even realize. You won't. You will not realize that you're doing this because our programming for this runs so deep. And it is your programming, it is the beliefs that we have embraced, mostly subconsciously, almost all of it, in fact, is you're not even aware of it, but it is the deeply embedded beliefs about who we are as women, mostly, and who we are with the expectation, what is expected of us. The biggest category that this comes from is not just within how you were brought up within your own families, because that is one thing. The more women that I have coached over the years, and the more that I've dug deep into this with these women to figure this out, it is not just a family thing. You can come from a family that was actually not so bad. I mean, some of you have horrific stories of what you've been through, but there's a lot of you who had fairly normal type childhoods, and you're looking at this, and we go through all the different points, and we're talking about everything, and you're like, well, this really doesn't apply to me. And yet what does apply to you is the culture. Because even if you didn't get it from your parents or from your primary caregivers, even if there wasn't that where you can pinpoint it, you absorbed what the culture told you that women are supposed to be. You absorbed and took on those beliefs that you were given, that were reinforced in so many different ways, that these are the things that you're supposed to do and you're supposed to be, and this is what a relationship is supposed to be about, and this is how you behave and perform in a relationship. And so there is no place where this happens more than around sex. Okay, and for however we have been liberated, for however, you know, the whole feminist movements and all of this, regardless of where you fall on the spectrum of that, or it doesn't matter, because even though you have a right to have great mind-blowing sex, even though you have a right to have exactly what men have when it comes to sex, and the freedom to have sex and the freedom to enjoy it, all of these things, okay, they don't matter, because what's happening is, no matter how much you know this at the head level, when you go into a relationship, what goes with you is your programming about sex, and about when to have sex in a relationship, and how to have sex in a relationship, and what it looks like to to be a sexual human being as a woman in the relationship, and nowhere is this found more than in what we have been taught about men's expectations of us when it comes to sex. Okay, and so the idea that if I don't have sex with him, he will probably go elsewhere. He won't be interested in me anymore. He's not going to hang around. He's not going to wait for me. There'll be some other woman who will give him sex. So all of these things play out that we're not even aware of. And we just look at it as we're in a relationship with someone, or we're in the beginning stages of getting to know someone. And if he wants to have sex and we're feeling like, well, if I don't have sex with him, if I wait to find out if he's actually ready for the commitment that I'm looking for, then this he may leave, he may get bored, he may choose someone else instead of me. I mean, all of those things are happening before you even have sex with him, just because you're thinking about these things subconsciously, because they're part of what we've been taught of how to be a woman in a relationship, how to be what you're supposed to bring. I mean, there's so many messages there, and that's why, even though you don't see that this is all going on, and where it stems from, where it's coming from, this is the problem, is you are sending him the message that says, um, I am good enough to have sex with, but when it comes to a relationship, we can hold off on figuring out if I'm good enough for a relationship, because I am communicating that I am ready for sex and I'm good enough for sex, and I'm going to prove that. We put all our energy into proving that we are sexy and attractive and desirable and all of this, and what happens is the emphasis is there, because that's like the first step, because we know there's a line of other women who are willing to sleep with this guy, that we feel so lucky that he's paid attention to us, that he's into us, that we do not want him to go down the line and go find another woman. So we stop here and we give him sex, and we have sex and we enjoy it. If we're, we recognize that, well, we're allowed, so there's nothing wrong with this anymore. So this is the problem. You're communicating to him exactly what you don't want to communicate to him, which is you want to be ready for the full thing. And if I'm not wrong here, I mean, you can correct me on this, but the majority of us don't actually want to have sex right away. The majority of us actually want to make sure that this guy's on the same page as us before we have sex with him. So, but in delaying that, most of us are afraid, well, he's going to move on to someone else. If we don't, then he'll find someone else who will. So the most important thing on this is more a question that you bring your beliefs with you, and whatever you've been brought up to believe that women have to do in order to keep a guy, those are the things that are coming through when it comes to having sex with him. So what I'm going to say on this is that you need to make sure first that you can handle having sex with him early, or whenever this is happening, before you know that you've got a real relationship with him. You have to make sure that you can handle that, because we get more attached. Women get more attached after sex. Men get less. Okay. So you have to make sure that you're comfortable enough to be having sex with him in the first place, knowing that you don't have the real relationship yet. You have not established, he is not emotionally as connected with you as you are going to be physically with him. And so you need to make sure that you're okay with that, because if you're not okay with that, it is worth risking losing him. Because if you're not okay with that, and you're only having sex with him because you're afraid if you don't, you're going to lose him, then you need to find that out. Are you going to lose this guy? Is he going to be gone? Are you not worth what you believe you're worth, because you're communicating to him that you are not willing to just be the woman he sleeps with? You're not willing to just be the sex object. You're not just willing to have sex, that you want more than that. And so if you are afraid that is all, that you're going to lose him over that, then you need to find out, because if you can lose him over that, you're not worth to him nearly what you need to be. And it has nothing to do with your worth. It has to do with him, and it has to do with what he's looking for. This is not about worth. This is not about worth at all. And the problem is we keep making it about our worth. We keep doing this, because I hear this all the time. And it's not. It's that this is a guy who is simply not looking for anything more than what you're looking for. He's not looking for anything more than sex. You're looking for more than that. My phone closed up here, so I can't have that in the middle of my question. So that is the most important thing for you to recognize, is this is not about worth. You're tying it to your worth. He's not tying it to your worth at all. This is just, he's showing you that he is only interested in sex. And how you find that out is you wait a little bit. You wait until you've got the emotional connection from him. You don't worry about, oh, he's going to go with someone else. He's going to find someone else. Okay, well, if he's in that much of a hurry to go find someone who will have sex with him without getting to know you first, I don't think the two of you are going to have a lot in common, because that's been proven more often than not. If someone can do that, there's not enough in there. Okay, so what are you doing wrong? Well, you're probably sleeping with them too soon. Because if you're not good enough for the relationship, you're basically you're trying out, you're auditioning for the role of girlfriend by giving him the sex early. You know, it doesn't work that way. The two go hand in hand. Okay, so I hope that clears it up, because this is just, we do this, and it's worth looking at what's going on in the background here and what's going on in our belief system about this. Because the reason why you're feeling this way is because you have a belief system about this. You believe, you have beliefs, if that's easier. You believe exactly what you wrote here, and it's for good reason. It's not your fault at all. It's because this is what we have been programmed culturally to believe, and it's reinforced everywhere. Everywhere. You just take a look at the movies and the books and the advertisements and everything that's shown to us. Okay, and it's there. These are the messages. It's hard not to see them. All right. Hi, Olive from Chicago. I remember you. It's nice to see you. Okay, so now I've got Judy. And Judy wants to know, Judy, are you here with us? Okay, you'll probably get this in the replay then. I'm not sure where in the world you're writing in from. Judy wants to know, will the wonderful friendship I have with this man in my life turn into something more? Okay. So, Judy, I wanted to answer yours because I get these all the time where there's not many details and there's just this feeling that I can tell whether or not this friendship that you've got is going to turn into something more. So, how I answer these when I see these is that there's two people who know if this is going to turn into something more. It's you and it's him. And when you write something like this to me, the very first thing that I pick up on is that you don't have a whole lot of say in this relationship. You don't have a whole lot of owning your power here and feeling your power and feeling like an equal to him. It's him who holds the power. It's him who's going to decide this. Or there's someone outside of yourself. It may not be him, because you may have this wonderful friendship and it may be really good. But there's something where you are giving the power over this relationship and how it turns out to someone else. So whether it's me being able to predict this or read something into this, or whether it's him, because he's the one you're in this with and you want something more with him, or whether it's just, you know, the fact that you're looking outside of yourself and you're looking for someone who has a crystal ball. That's the thing. Crystal ball into what is going to happen. Okay. So that is the problem. You are looking for something outside of yourself to indicate to you whether or not the relationship that you're in, that you're 50% involved with, you know, you're 50%, he's 50%. So you're looking at this as being something that someone outside of you, or he, in this case, has more say over than you do. And that's my concern when I see a question like this. That's my concern. So my thing here is, I need you to know that you have as much power in this as this guy that you're in this friendship with. You have more of a say in this than I do, or anyone else outside of yourself. Okay, because you're in it. You're in it. You and he are going to decide how this goes, the two of you, no one else. So this is not just some fate, some left up to the fate, left up to the universe, left up to God, left up to that. even when you believe that God has a say and the universe has a say and there's a plan for your life and there's the universe ultimately decides and brings people together and all this, even if that is how the lens that you look through and how you view things, it still comes down to the two of you. And the two of you have to be on the same page. You have to be compatible. You have to want the same thing. And you have to be willing to put as much equal effort into this. Not at the same time. Okay. It doesn't have to be always 50-50, everything exact. But over time, generally, okay, over the course of time, it has to be that you are both contributing to this relationship, that you both want more, that you're both looking at this with the idea that you're hoping this turns into something more than what it is. And so without that, then there is no way of knowing. And you're just going to be in limbo and just wondering. And you're going to be feeling powerless, which doesn't feel good at all. And you're going to be feeling like you don't know what's going to happen. Is it going to happen? I mean, this is so familiar to me because every single relationship I was ever in was always this. It was always, what's it going to be? What's in the cards? What's is this going to be the guy that God's got for me? Is this going to be the guy that the universe is showing? Is this what the fates have? And it was always, I'm looking for signs. I'm looking for all these things that are telling me this is the guy. And what I didn't understand, I mean, I understood free will, but I didn't understand how it applied here, is that you can have the universe in here. You can have God in here. You can have all the spirituality in here. But there's one other important thing that's in this relationship with you, and it's free will, yours and his. And so you may decide you want to be with this guy and you want it to be more than that. But has he decided that? So it's because I hear this a lot from, and this is such a beautiful piece of this is how connected we are, because I hear the spiritual element come up all the time of whatever you believe in, is this, it just seems the signs are there, right? Like you can see so many signs, but then there's the question of, well, what does it mean? And what it means is, yeah, you're right. You're reading the signs, right? There's all these signs, but there's free will in this. And so he has to decide that he actually wants a real committed relationship with you. And he has to decide that. And you have to decide that. And you have to not be so caught up in these signs that you don't recognize that this guy is like the worst guy for you in terms of a real relationship. That this guy would be fine for fun. But 10 years down the road, you're going to be looking at this as this was the biggest mistake of my life that I made. So there's this free will piece in it that you know much better than I do, because it's your will and it's his, and both of you are free to make your own decisions. So is this a compatible relationship? Is this a on the same page relationship? Are you both invested? Do you both want the same thing? Do you both want the same thing with each other? Do you have enough compatibility in here that there's enough here to keep both of you contributing and wanting to keep making this work? Because like I said, those 2, 5, 10 years down the road, they come fast. And if you don't have someone who you're in this for the long term with, where there's enough compatibility in here to be in here, that's a concern. And it is far better to know this now so that you can keep this wonderful friendship alive than it is to ruin a friendship pushing for something more when one of you or both of you is not ready or wanting it this way. Even if it's not a ready, I mean, the timing has to be right, sure, but you also have to be right for each other. So that's a part of this too. So I would turn this around to instead of, will this wonderful friendship I have with this man in my life turn into something more? Do you want it to turn into something more? And does he want it to turn into something more? And if both of you want it to turn into something more, what steps are both of you taking to make it turn into something more? Okay, rather than leaving it to someone outside of yourself to predict, or for some kind of magic or some kind of spiritual awakening or some prayer to make it happen. I mean, those are all, I'm not against any of those things, and they all can help. I mean, I believe in the power of prayer and the power of intention and the power of attraction and the law of attraction and so many of these different things that are on a spiritual level, because the more you believe in something, the more it becomes real. But it's just, there is free will in this, and there's very much the reality that both of you have to be equally contributing to this. Okay, it can't be an imbalanced thing where you're trying to make it more and he doesn't want it more. You both have to be able to look at, okay, are we compatible? Is there enough of a relationship to grow into something more? All right. So anyway, Judy, I hope that helps, because yeah, I hear you, and that's really important to really understand when you're saying, and when you're leaving it to to, to the gods or to whatever signs you're seeing, bring in the free will piece that someone has to be choosing to be in more than just a friendship with you. And you have to be choosing. I mean, it may be if you want it, you're going to be wanting more, but he has to be wanting more too. And if in this beginning stage, when you're in having this beautiful friendship, if he's not looking for more, believe me, and I'm sure every woman who's ever been in this situation would attest to this too. You are so much better off finding this out early before you have invested more of your heart, more of your soul into this relationship, because that is, it's much, much harder to pick up the pieces of heartbreak than it is to just live with the disappointment of not going forward and not moving in. Okay. And moving ahead with it. All right. I hope that answered that. And for any of you, I hope you benefited from that one too, because that again is, yeah, it's a really important one. This next one I got, she wrote to me, and I'm not sure of her. She did not have her name on this one. So anyway, if this is you and you recognize this question, feel free to post up in the chat that this is you so that I can know who I'm talking to and that you're here. Otherwise, you'll get it in the replay. All right. She writes, Jane, I dated this guy that is 10 years younger than me and my daughter's best friend's brother. Okay. So, she dated this guy. He's 10 years younger than her. And he's also her daughter's best friend's brother. Okay. For on and off over a year. I think I got it now. And every time we get close to breaking it off, he ghosts me. This time he's been back in my life for about 3.5 months. Okay, so we got a ghoster on our hands. Okay, good. We'll speak to this. Okay, so for about 3.5 months, he's been back. He would call me at least 27 times a day, every single day on the weekends. Okay, if that isn't a typo that you wrote to me, 27 times a day is crazy. Okay, and then he ghosts you. Okay, well, I'm going to keep reading. 27 times a day, every single day on the weekends. Sometimes I would go spend it with him, and then all of a sudden last week, no text messages. No call, no explanation, just ghosted me again. I love him with all my heart. I'm very upset with him right now because I don't know the reason why he did this. We didn't have a fight or anything. He told me one day when we were talking last week, I'll call you back in the afternoon, and nothing. He just vanished, and I don't know how to handle this. Okay. I don't think the details matter here. Honestly, I've got my answer for you because whether or not this is, not a typo, and it's 27 times a day, every single day. And then he goes, so this is hot and cold guy. He's all in and then he's all out. Okay. And this guy, he's 10 years younger than you. He's got some association with your daughter's best friend's brother. So this is clearly, he just keeps vanishing. So, and this has gone on, it's been over a year. Okay, so every time you get close, he breaks it off. So it doesn't matter for any of you listening in here who have any kind of a situation. It doesn't matter how many times he's calling you in a day or how much the idea is obviously that he can go, he's hot and cold. He's either all in and he's just totally reaching out to you and contacting you and everything. And then he goes nothing. You don't hear from him at all. And you're saying, so here's what I'm looking at. Okay. I love him with all my heart. I'm very upset with him right now because I don't know the reason why he did this. Okay. Like there's no reason that you can see for it. And you love him with all your heart. So my answer to you is no. Well, first of all, no one should ever have to handle this in a relationship. Okay. This is not a relationship. A relationship is based on honesty, openness, communication. You don't have any of that. This is not any of that. I mean, communication where it's like he blasts you with all of this contact and then absolutely nothing, and you're left to wonder what did I do wrong, because you can't go back in your mind and go back in time and think of what could it possibly be, but you're left here with just this idea, the feeling that you've done something wrong that's done it. I mean, this is a guy who is actively controlling you. He's actively he's got all the power here. Okay. And you don't have any control over this because on his whim, for no reason that you can find, he's off and gone ghosting you. And then he comes back, and this has gone on for a year, longer than a year. Okay. So I'm going to tell you that this the way you handle this is you recognize that if you are loving a guy who is treating you like this, you have no idea what love is, because there is nothing loving in this. You may love the things about him that you think are important, but I'll tell you, there's nothing more important than communication and feeling secure and safe with someone. And there is nothing in here that has security in here, safety in here. There's nothing in here that gives you any indication that you are in something safe emotionally, mentally, physically. I mean, there's just nothing here. There's just nothing here for you. No call, no, again, I'm using your words. Again, he ghosted me last week, suddenly last week, no text message, no call, no explanation. I love him with all my heart. Okay. So I want you to look at this, because the bigger issue here is why you love this man. Okay. So you, and just to be clear, the reason why you don't know how to handle this is because you don't know how to handle this, because you're not supposed to handle this. You are not supposed to be able to handle this. You're not, this is not supposed to be within your repertoire of coping mechanisms of how you deal with a guy like this, because this is not how you're ever supposed to handle something. I mean, this is not a healthy relationship where you can obviously communicate and talk about this. There's, I mean, maybe once this happens, and you think, okay, well, maybe we need to talk about this. And you have a conversation and he says, okay, I won't do it again. So maybe once you have that conversation. If he does it again the second time, I mean, you've already had a conversation about, and I don't even know if that's happened. I'm just saying hypothetically, 2 times is a limit, because the first time it might happen and it might surprise you and you weren't prepared for it. So then you have a conversation about it. If it happens again, I mean, that's too much. You've already talked to him about it. You've already told him about it. You've already told him how it makes you feel. So I'm assuming you have at least done that. If you haven't done that, then I guess that's an even bigger problem. If the two of you have not talked about this, if you've not communicated with him about this, and he doesn't know that this is so upsetting to you, he doesn't know that that's not how you treat someone. If you're acting like it's totally fine and you haven't had a conversation to let him know this is not fine, and starting there, then there's a reason why you haven't. And it's because you're scared to, because you're going to lose him completely. So anytime that you are afraid to have a conversation like that, there's a reason. And that reason is fear. You don't want to have a conversation because you already know what the result is going to be. You're going to lose them. So what all these roads lead to one thing for me. And that is when you say, I love him with all my heart. I need you to find out why you love him with all your heart. I need you to find out why you can love someone like this with all your heart. That is the most important thing you can ever do. That's the most loving thing you can do for yourself in a situation like this. Find out why you love someone like this with all your heart, because this is not love. This is not loving you back. This is not giving you what you deserve back. Okay. There's something where you are equating love with this push-pull, ghost, disappear, and then just pour on, I mean, it's very similar. I don't know if you grew up in an alcoholic home, but it's very similar to an alcoholic type or other kind of addictions in the home, because this is the pattern, right? Where someone just, or in some kind of an abusive thing where they can hurt you and hurt you and hurt you. And then, when they recognize what they've done and they're losing you, then they can come back and say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I mean, this is an abusive pattern. So, so there is something here that you equate with love, and you need to go figure out what that is, because you need to figure out why. But don't stay on there long. It's great to go in therapy and identify things, but don't stay there. Don't stay there, because you can just go on, and that becomes your thing. You could distract yourself then from actually doing something about it in the present by just looking at how you understand now all of these things about love and how they're connected to your definition of love based on something in the past. But don't stay there. Just recognize it. Just pinpoint it. Recognize, okay, so this is what I learned about love, either from my family or from the culture or from whatever it is you learned. You learned something here, and that's not love. And then come back to the present and recognize this is not love. There's nothing loving in it. And make a decision that instead of waiting for him to ghost you, have a direct conversation with him, okay? And say, this isn't working for me. I honestly, I feel the potential of us, I really care about you. I have feelings for you, but I can't keep hurting myself like this. I can't keep doing this. This is just, this does not feel good. This is awful for me to keep going through. I can't do this anymore. So either we are together or we're not. But I'm not doing this anymore because it's hurting me too much. And so, um, I can't go on like this. So either we're together or we're not. But this back and forth, hot and cold, all in, then all out isn't working. And you need to communicate that to him. And whether that ends it, I got to tell you, you don't have a relationship here. So I know. I mean, it's better than nothing. Probably it feels like, right? I mean, I hear that a lot, and I understand that. But at the same time, what are you missing out on? What are you not being able to have with someone else because of this? And if you think there's no one else, it's only because you're in this relationship being treated like this that you think there's no one else. That is the sole reason that you think there's no one else. When you're in this and you're being put through this, it will feel like there's no one else because of how bad it is. And that resets your normal and your expectation of what you can expect. So, okay, so that's how you handle it. I hope that's clear enough. All right. Okay, the next one is from Marianne. Okay. Hi, Marianne. Not sure where in the world you're tuning in from here, or if you're here, or if you're going to be on the replay. But Marianne writes to me, hi, Jane. I wish I had a magic wand that I could wave and poof, my soulmate magically appears and we live happily ever after. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. I know. I wish that too. I wish that many times. So it's been 2 years since I was ghosted by someone I lived with, loved with all my heart, and totally trusted. I've been working on me ever since. Not even one single flirt, date, nothing. Ooh, but I'm so tired of feeling alone, of being alone. Okay. That's tough. I hear you on that. That is, yeah. That's lonely. So I start looking around at my options, but all I see are other women's, or for lack of a better word, leftovers. Okay. As well as men that are quite unhealthy, men that want a mother figure, not an actual partner. Oh, this is, I think, resonating with a lot of you. Men, not an actual partner, men who never married and still live with their moms, and men who want nothing more than sex and send pictures of their privates within the first 5 minutes of chatting. Yeah, we don't want those. Dick pics are not good. Okay. Mind you, I am 58 years old, but what's a girl to do? How do I find a guy who will love me for me and treat me as an equal, especially when the pickings seem slim? Help a girl out, please. All right, Marianne, I'm coming in, coming to the rescue. Okay, I know I don't have a magic wand, and I sure wish I did, but I have a bunch of other things for you. I've got a lot of other. There's a lot in here. Thank you for writing in here with these. Okay, so I hear this. I hear this probably in half my day on my calls. I hear something similar to this. So you're not alone at all on this one. Okay, so what's a girl to do here? All right, first of all, I've got something encouraging. 2 points. The first point is you choose who you get. Okay, so this idea that there's no one left, that there's no one left for you, that there's only all the good ones are taken, in essence, right? All of that. Okay, so that's not, you get to choose your view. That was what I meant to say on that one. So let me be clear. You get to choose your view. You get to choose how you see the world. So they're either all the men, all the good ones are taken, or and leftovers, as you say, or there's men you just haven't met yet. And I would encourage you to hold on to the I just haven't met him yet, okay, for as long as you possibly can, because at some point, that is where you're going to meet that guy out of that view, okay, the guy that you're looking for. You meet him out of that view. You don't meet him out of the view that all the good men are taken, that there's no one left, that they're all unhealthy, because that doesn't help, okay? That just plays into all our fears, all our insecurities. So don't go down that path. Don't go down that path. That path will keep you trying and trying and trying and doing more and spending a fortune Okay. On trying to look perfect, on trying to be perfect, on trying to be everything but who you are. So don't go down that path. You don't need to. What you need to do is simply look through the lens that you can choose, which is, I just haven't met him yet. They're in a world of however many men there are on this earth. There has to be at least one guy for me, and that's the view I want you to look at. Okay, because I hear from women all the time who have all but given up. I mean, it doesn't matter how old they are. I meet women in their 30s who I actually meet women. There's a woman who's 31 years old, and those of you who are older who would look at that and be like, what is she? There's this gorgeous woman who's 31, okay, and she's successful in her career. She's beautiful, okay, and she feels as hopeless as you do. So I want to say that this hopeless thing is very much something that we carry with us in our psyche. And it doesn't matter if you could look at that and say, like, are you kidding me? Like, you're 21 or 31, like you're thinking there's no good men left. I mean, look at me. I got something to complain about. I got something to say. But it is something that is very individual, and it has to do with your psyche. It has nothing to do with this reality of numbers and everything, because it is solely subjective. It's how we feel. All right. So I want to say with that looking through the lens of, I just haven't met him yet. This world is full of men. People are uncoupling all the time. I mean, in either sad circumstances or positive circumstances, but I mean, people are just under all different circumstances. There are people who are becoming single. Okay, and then the other thing is there are so many more ways that men are waking up than they could have even 10 years ago. So there's hope there well, and here's the number one way that this changes, and that is because we're raising the bar. Okay, I mean, literally, this is the reality here, that the more women, because I mean, think about this, all these fears we have, right? We've been talking earlier about whether or not we're having sex with a guy because we feel if we don't, we're going to lose him, or whether or not it's because you're feeling here like you there's no good men left. There's just these leftovers. I mean, the whole point is, when you raise the bar, when we as women are raising the bar, I mean, this is my entire message. And this is why it's such a universal message. I want all of us to raise the bar. I want all of us to stop settling for less. I want all of us to raise the bar on what we're willing to accept from men in our lives, from all the relationships in our lives, so that no one can fall back on us to lower the bar and say, oh, we'll take that. If you'll be with us, if you'll make us feel, if you'll make us your girlfriend, if you'll marry us, then we'll put up with whatever. We're going to change the bar. That's what we're doing here. We're changing this. We are no longer being this line of women who are going to be lined up ready for some guy to treat us terribly just because, hey, we can have a guy. We can say we've got one. We've got one of those. We're worthy. We belong now. We're accepted. Okay, we're changing this. Okay, so that is the single biggest way. It is getting harder and harder for guys like that to find just some woman who's going to put up with that, because we're spreading this message all over, and there's a lot of us doing this. Okay, so that is the one way that changes, is just by recognizing that this is a choice. Okay, and then the second way that it changes is by you choosing something different in who you are choosing to look at. And that means, because I had a call with a woman just this past week, and it was really interesting because she was saying exactly the same thing you are. And she was saying, how am I ever going to find someone? I just feel like there's no one left for me. Basically saying everything that you're saying in here. And what we came to on the end of our call was that at first I just started out brainstorming with her all the different places she could go to meet different men, and all the different things online, ways she could meet other men. And what it came down to is, she was like, oh, I know I can do all those things. But what she realized was, it was actually because she realizes that she's choosing a certain type of man. She's only interested in a certain type of man, and that man is the hardest man to get to commit, because she's looking for a guy to commit to her, to be in this real relationship with, who isn't interested in her, who's looking for someone who's very different from her. So she's looking for the guy who's really, really hard to get, who actually, I mean, in all honesty, isn't looking for anyone at all. So it's not even that he's not looking for her, he's not looking for anyone. And she's picking the hardest to get to commit, the hardest to marry her, to make a commitment to her. And she's choosing that guy. So two things. It's the lens that you look through. Okay. So I want you to see that there is um, there's lots of good men. Y'all, all it takes is one. And there's this whole world out there. And people who are either waking up, men who are becoming more enlightened and more awake all the time, and appreciating being able to have feelings. I mean, we're finally going in that direction where men are being allowed to have any feelings at all. So, I mean, that's huge. And then the other part of it is that you can shift what you're choosing. So what I mean by that is that if there has only been a certain type that you are looking for, okay? So if you're fixated on one certain type, or and we all have our types that we're drawn to, even if they're not as specific, but come away from that type just a little bit and see it as I am just going to see, think of it as like interviewing, okay? Your goal is to get as much information as possible from a guy so that you can eliminate him. That's the goal. You want to find out that early on that you've got a guy, like you said, who doesn't want a mother figure, who has still lives with their mom, never been married, okay? Someone who wants nothing more than sex, okay? You want to eliminate all those guys early. So I do not see it as a negative if you're eliminating a whole bunch of them. I don't see it as a negative at all. If you're eliminating them and you realize, oh, it's okay, you know, if you're feeling like, but if I eliminate this guy, who's going to be next? Don't do that. Don't do that, because you will find more men the more you eliminate. Because what's going to happen? You first eliminate what you don't want, because that's what you know the best. You're going to be most attracted to the things you actually don't want, because those are going to be the program things that you were brought up with. Okay. So it's going to be first those things that you're attracted to. So men with the qualities that are I don't know. I mean, if you're always choosing these macho men who are projects who need to be fixed, who come across as sensitive to you in the beginning and then totally change, go back to the way they've always been after, 3-4 months, you want to choose different men than that, right? So you want to try from the beginning to eliminate that guy so that you don't waste your time. The number one thing you want to do here is stop wasting your time. You're wasting way too much time with men seeing if they can be good enough, and seeing if you can change them, seeing if you can, if they're going to prove themselves better than, what you're initially seeing here. So when you talk about all the unhealthy men and all these things, I mean, you want to find these out early. So you got to ask questions. And I will tell you this, good men will not shy away from questions. They will not. I just had a call with a woman last week as well on this one. And she was literally saying she had all her questions, and she's like, but they're not responding. She's online dating. She's on an app, and she's asking these questions that really matter to her, that she's learned from being in all these other relationships. So she's learned what types of questions she wants to ask, to know right up front. But these guys, she's like, but there's no more answer. They're not answering me. There's no response after I ask these questions. Okay, so that's a good thing. So just go ask more, because you will never get that time back, and you will wish you did, when you can find out in the beginning. I don't want you looking back heartbroken because you recognize, oh, if I'd only asked that in the beginning, because that's what this woman is doing. She recognizes that, and she's purposely doing it that way. So that's what I want you to do. Okay. And so I will affirm for you, lose them. It's okay. It's okay. We can lose guys over that, because you know what happens? You're much more reluctant to lose the other types of guys who are the ones you should be losing, because what happens is this is where it's the men who should be lost early that we are hanging on to, because you want to see, will he be something more? Like, it's like there's some things you're attracted to that you believe are the things you want. And they're just, you might want those things, but you don't want them in that package. So it's far better if you go with your gut. And when you have confirmation, because you've communicated directly with them from the beginning, I mean, set that standard that we communicate directly, because there's nothing worse than, I mean, no matter how uncomfortable it is for you to do that. Okay. I want to remind you, how comfortable is it down the road when you find out that you're with the wrong guy because he would have been filtered out if you'd asked certain questions, and down the road when you're invested, and down the road when it seems like, oh, it's going to be harder to leave him because I got to start fresh. I got to start over. It's going to be harder to do that. Okay. So remind yourself how hard that is and how much you beat yourself up over that. Okay. And so when in the beginning there's an opportunity to ask questions, forget this idea that I can't ask. You don't even know the guy yet. You can ask him questions, and you need to, because you're going to filter out, you're going to find out who he really is by asking those questions in the first place. Okay. So, no, we don't have a magic wand. We don't have a magic wand, but what we do have is we have questions. We have a voice, and we can talk. We can communicate. We can set the pace. We can set the tone. We're going to communicate here, and I want to get to know you. I want to know who you are, and you can do it in a way that includes your femininity. You can do it in a way that includes your, the essence of you in here. You can make it funny. You can make it. You can say something like, "Okay, I got some questions I got to ask you, and I don't really want to have to," or just play with it, right? So yeah, I got some questions I'm going to ask you, and so okay, I'm not putting you on the hot seat, but I do have some questions. Play with it. Be yourself here, or something just as simple as, okay, so my friend said I have to ask you these questions. I have, or you could, I mean, just be yourself with it, but you can have fun with it. Keep it light. I've got a friend who will insist that I ask you these questions. She's going to ask me to make sure I've asked you questions, whatever it is. Or my brother, my brother's always looking out for me, and he's going to want to know that I ask these questions. So if you're not comfortable just asking direct questions, play it up, make it fun, make it playful, because it'll be the feeling around those questions, not just the, like a drill sergeant, she's asking you these direct questions. It'll be that you conveyed it in a way that also was part of your personality, and that's cool. So that's more of you and getting to know you. So do not be afraid to ask questions, because down the road you're going to regret that you didn't. You'll regret you don't, because I hear that all the time. If only I'd asked, or the red flags. I'll hear someone say, oh, if only I had asked these questions, if only I'd seen these red flags in the beginning. I said, well, how, did he do this? Did I do that? And I'll be like, oh, I wish we were talking then. I wish you'd reached out then, and we were scheduling sessions then, because we could have talked about this, and I would have pointed out the red flags too. So the red flags, actually, you are aware of them. It's just, one, we don't want to see them, and two, if we do think we're onto a red flag, we really don't want to confront someone over them, right? Because don't forget, we're operating on this whole idea that this guy may be our last chance, right? I mean, that's the faulty thinking. That's the erroneous thinking, that we think this guy is going to be our last chance. I mean, come on. You think love is going to give you that kind of a guy as your last chance? It doesn't even make common sense. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way that you, who you are, okay, with so much love to give, there's no way that this guy, who's as loveless as they come, is going to be your last chance. It's just, there's no way. There's no way. Okay. And more than that, I see that all the time from women who are like, I can't do it. I can't break up with this guy. I can't be over. I can't do it, because how do I know I'm going to get anything better? And they hum and haw, they go through it and they weigh it. And then finally they do something about it, because they can't anymore. It's become more painful to stay than it is to move on to the unknown. And then, down the road, it's not that long, it's not that long. I've had women who it's been months, others it's been, year or two maybe, but and then some others it's been longer, depending on where they're at. But this is such an individual thing. You get to choose that. It will be much faster, depending on how quickly you go from, I'm not going to find the same guy anymore. I am determined to not find the same guy. And then you go look for other qualities in a guy. And you try out other types of men for size. You see, what might it be like? What might it be like without tying myself down to this guy who's going to be so different from what I'm used to? What if I just try on for size a different type? What if I just go there and just see what that might look like? What if I just do it and just see what happens, right? And then surprise yourself. You never know. So it's up to you how long it takes after this guy. But I will tell you unequivocally that I hear that all the time from women who tell me that, yeah, Jane, you're right. I did find someone else, and they're really excited because it's usually like they didn't believe it themselves and then it happened. So that'll happen to you too. All right. Angie wrote to me and said, how is he taking it? Now that I'm gone and thinking about not returning. Angie, are you here? Okay, we'll catch up with you on the replay if you are watching from somewhere else. Now that I'm gone and thinking about not returning, he knows exactly what it is. Oh, he knows exactly why that is. I don't like the control that he thinks he has over me. I'm not into games, nor am I going to play into the role of this behavior and have him think I'm stupid to keep doing it over and over as I sit there waiting for him night after night while he plays with my emotions and can't just stop the BS. As much as it hurts me like a knife right through my heart to always put blame on me for his misbehavior, telling me whatever story he feels like when finally checking on his phone. Ooh, after one of his nights of passion with whoever he wants to, finally hits reality and that I even exist in his life. Okay. She goes on to say a lot more. But what I want to say here, okay, so what I want to say here, Angie, is on this one. Okay. So if you have a guy who's playing with your emotions, if you have a guy who, you're wondering, he doesn't even check his phone, for you to get a hold of him, and he's with whoever he wants. One of his, so this guy's cheating on you. How is he taking it? So, honestly, okay, this is a really good opportunity for any of you who are finding the resentment building. Clearly, this one here this is all about anger and resentment. Okay, and what I want to tell you about that is because I talk about this a lot, because when you have been brought up to believe that you are supposed to be the nice girl and you're supposed to take it and you're supposed to be kind and understanding and forgiving and accepting all his excuses and they're not excuses, of course, because he's got the stuff and he's these are the realities. So what I want to say about this is when the anger and the resentment is building to the extent that you are ready to blow like this, right? Because this clearly you're gone. So this woman left, Angie. Sounds like you left, and you're thinking you're going to punish him. You're not going to return. Okay, so he's got control over you. You're not into games. You're not want to play games, but you're playing games back with him here. Okay, and so you can't do that because when we play games back with someone, and you may not think that's what you're doing, but that's what it is because well, when you're not communicating with him directly and saying how you feel, then the whole thing just spins out of control like this. And it becomes that both of you are playing games and both of you, and even if you don't like the idea that you're playing games, okay, so you're responding to his game playing. So you're responding by not being clear with him and by not being clear and not having boundaries with him and not communicating directly with him. This whole thing is just going to keep on going around and around and around and around. And I see this all the time. This is probably the number one reason that women come to me, that they don't even realize why they're coming to me. But why they're coming to me is because they have so much resentment and anger underneath. And I'm going to help them tap into that to make that go away so that it never happens again. And the way it goes away, the way you fix this is you have to be honest with yourself and him early on. And when you start feeling resentful, and some of you have gone on for so long without ever allowing yourself to have your own right to your own feelings and your own right to your own preferences and your own right to the way that you want your relationship to go, that you don't even realize that how much resentment is building until I point it out to you. But almost always underneath is just the resentment and the anger. And if it keeps building like this, eventually it's going to blow. You're going to feel horrible. You're going to feel justified, but then you're going to feel horrible. And then the whole thing's going to blow up and he's probably going to turn it on you that it's your fault. And he's going to put it on you and you're going to feel even worse than that. And just the whole thing is just, it's going to go to hell. And so this is just not what you want. You want to proactively avoid this by when you start feeling like you don't have any power in the relationship, that you don't have any control, at that point, when you start questioning what is going on with this and why do you feel powerless? I mean, even start with asking yourself, do I feel powerless in this relationship? Do I feel like he calls all the shots? Do I feel like he's the one who is in control? Do I feel like I want to punish him? I mean, honestly, that's probably the biggest thing. Do I want to punish him by not answering my phone? Do I want to punish him by not being available to him? And then of course you try that and you feel worse because you missed him, and he called or whatever. And then you're like, and then you're mad at yourself for, you know, for not answering his call and not being there. And so you think it's okay to punish him, but you didn't want to punish him. You just wanted to be with him. You just really wanted to be with him underneath. So the bottom line is, this is just, Angie, I feel you. I mean, the heartbreak you feel on this one, is just, yeah. So, yeah. So instead of fighting someone, okay, instead of punishing them and playing into this whole thing where he plays with your emotions and then you punish him and you're resenting and you're mad and you're angry and all this, just communicate with him directly. Tell him what isn't working. Tell him what isn't okay. Tell him that this is not, tell him like I said in the last one, right? You can just say, look, I can't do this anymore like this. Something has to change in our relationship. And if you're so afraid, don't say this part. That's what I'm saying to you. If you're so afraid of losing him, if you talk to him, girl, you have already lost him. He's already gone. Because if you can't communicate, that is just like the hallmark of a healthy relationship. If you cannot communicate directly, you don't have a relationship. You do not have a relationship. There's a woman who I've been coaching for a while now, and she has gone through about 3 or 4 different relationships that have been really disappointing for her. Okay. And now she is in this relationship where they're going on over a year. And I will tell you what I have noticed from the beginning with him, why I felt like this was going to be different than all the other ones, because I've had the privilege of knowing her, coaching her through all of these other relationships where none of them worked out. But this one is working, and they're going on over a year, and I don't see any signs of this. I mean, it's really going to be up to her if things don't work out, because it will only be because she decides that there's something that isn't the way she wants it. But in terms of all her other relationships have always been, are you sure, Jane? Is this a sign that he's going to end it? Is this a sign he's going to end it with me? And I'm like, okay, let's back up. Let's go over this. And I help her to come to see it so she can answer her own question and see that, okay, I can see now why this isn't meaning that. But the hallmark of their relationship is communication. These two communicate, and it's because, it's this combination. And let me be clear, she has never communicated directly like this with these other guys. It was not, because she was afraid to, because we would always talk about this. And she's like, well, and she didn't communicate that directly with him. And so now she is with this guy, and he is too. So both of them are just having this direct communication, and they're going on, over, I think it's over a year, I know for sure. And it's because of this communication. They do communication so well. So don't be afraid to communicate, because she's actually recognizing that the times before that she has never spoken up in all her other relationships, and she's realizing that the resentment would start to build, and then it would just lead into resentment and anger and all this. So you have to communicate early. And if he's not willing to communicate back, if this communication is a one-way street and you're the only one communicating, I will tell you, you are not losing anything, because you cannot be in a relationship where there is no communication. You can't do it. You cannot do it. You cannot be in a relationship. You cannot be in a relationship where there isn't this direct communication. You can't. You can't. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Star. I'm glad you joined. Yeah. Oh, Star, you're going to agree with a lot of this that we've been talking about. You have to watch the replay and for what you missed, but I think you're going to be agreeing with a lot of this. And yeah, Diana, that's exactly it, right? It's just, we're not supposed to, we're not supposed to rock the boat. We're not supposed to say, even direct communication, right? Like, think about how much of your programming, how much you've been conditioned with says, I am not supposed to communicate directly because it's not feminine. It's not ladylike. It's not like, ooh, that's what I do in the office. That's what I do for business. That's what I do in my career. But in a relationship, no, I'm supposed to be soft and feminine and all this stuff, right? I mean, so that is such a big part of this. It's how you feel about communicating. Look at that. Because I will tell you, the most common theme in my emails about issues is all around communication and direct communication. How do I know this? How do I know that? We don't feel comfortable asking, and we don't feel comfortable talking about it because, one, we're afraid we're going to lose the guy, or two, we really don't want to know that we're right again and that we're going to be wrong, and that there's things that need to be, that we have to change. That is so uncomfortable to feel. I mean, it's so much easier to just ask someone, like, what do you think? How is it? It's so much easier because if we say it out loud, and also if you have one of these hot and cold relationships, which so many are, you don't want to ask these things, because if you ask them and you're on a you're on a hot time when everything's good, then you're going to switch it over to the cold. I mean, someone I was just talking to was talking about the hot and cold. We were talking about this, and it was exactly that, how we don't. I think because I think I was asking her, did you bring this up? And she said, no, I didn't bring it up because it was going so well. Right. And so that just keeps us stuck. I mean, how many of you can identify with that? Right. I mean, that's it. If someone is saying, if everything is going well, and one person brings up something that is going to lead to, a direct communication or confrontation, even if it I mean, yeah, no one wants to do that when things are going well. I mean, it'll ruin it. It'll ruin it. So you avoid that. So anyway, Angie, there's a lot in there. I hope that helps. I hope everyone else got all that too, because there was a lot there. Okay. We're switching to a slightly different topic that some of you might have wondered as well. Lisa wrote to me and asked just one question. Lisa, are you here? If not, you'll get it in the replay. But Lisa wanted to know if the small business that she's thinking of doing will be worth her time, study, and effort. So I get all types of questions on here. So I actually enjoy answering them, because I think, my background is in so many different things that I feel like I've lived so many different lives. It's interesting how, the questions, anyway, how relevant they are. So I want to address this because I do get questions about careers. I help women switch careers. I help them to change out of really dysfunctional relationships, dysfunctional jobs, dysfunctional bosses with horrible people that some of you have come to me about, who you work with, and where you're trying to, again, make the best of a situation because you need the job, or because you feel like it's on you, that there's something you should be doing different, when you should be getting the hell out of that job as quickly as possible. Granted, you need to find another one if finances are obviously an issue, but there's so many heartbreaking stories of being in environments where you should never be, just like relationships you should never be in. There are work relationships, there are workplaces you should never ever be in. There's a woman just this week who I was talking to, and I could not believe that. Actually, take this tip: if you have a supervisor and you've got someone who is someone who is just on you, or just you feel like holds the power over you, is on a power trip with you. Particularly, I mean, men can be like this, but men are different. But if you have like a woman who you work for, and she just makes you feel like she's on a power trip with you, and because that is probably the number one problem that I've coached women through on this, because that there's a very real thing with that. And anyway, so if you have someone who you are going to get your questions answered, do all your research on your own. Do not, because what will happen, if you can, because what was happening is this woman was experiencing some pain, and so she was having an issue with her setup. She was working from home, and there was just an issue with her, because they were all remote, and the way she was working on her laptop and everything. She was actually experiencing pain from being in the same position all the time. And she didn't realize what was happening until it got so bad. And then she was saying she was trying to hide it, because she was brought up with the shame of she's not supposed to admit that she needs, to admit that she needs help, or that she needs to be off for an appointment. She needs to go to physiotherapy, or she needs to go, she was used to just, sucking it up and just getting through it and not letting anyone know, because then, you're not going to be as likely for advancement or promotions or things like that. So that was all her inner dialogue. There's a lot of truth to that too, unfortunately. And so all of that was going on behind the scenes. But anyway, what she ended up doing was, she told her supervisor that she was going to have to, or she said, I'm in some pain. I've got this, and this is honestly, this is like a woman who's really well educated. So the fact that she was in this mode where she felt that she had to go to her supervisor rather than just read through the, HR policy, vacation time off policy, doctor's appointment policy. She was going to this woman who was the last person she should have been going to, because the supervisor, and used it against her and turned it against her and involved HR in this, because she was concerned, and she was just asking her questions about, what she needed to do, what the policy, or she was just innocently asking what she should do, if she was okay she had an appointment she was going to go to. And the problem was, she was asking questions of the supervisor, who was using it as a way to gain power over my client. And so it wasn't good, because it was turning into a power thing, where she was feeling it was falling into the similar dynamic that had happened in her relationships. And what I was able to help her with is to turn that around to, don't ask this woman for anything. You tell her, based on what your company policy is, if you need to take a sick day. You don't say, you don't hum and haw about it. You say, I'm taking a sick day, and you take a sick day. Or you do your appointments at lunch. Okay. And so you use your lunch break and you go for your appointments, so that you don't have to essentially jeopardize promotions and advancement by being the one who is, going to physio all the time, taking time off all the time. Okay. That's the sad reality where most of our workplaces are. And so you don't do that. You figure out what is your policy on those things. And then, you schedule those hour appointments over your lunch hour, and you do it that way, so that you don't have to admit if you have someone like that, okay, malicious like that, or someone who's looking to get you. You don't, and you may not know that this person is like that at all, but if there's any indication of that, don't give that person your power. Very much like any other relationship, do not give that person your power. So anyway, it made all the difference. And surprisingly, again, this is a well-educated woman, but she that was new to her for whatever reason, and again, these dynamics are really ingrained in us. So if that's the case, do that. Find out, get all your information apart. If you have to find out from HR, on your own, but figure out, do your own homework, and then you announce what is within the company rules and you decide how you're going to handle it, and you don't ask, tell. Okay, so that's just a note there while we're on the subject about this. Okay, so I will say, if the small business, first of all, you have to be passionate about it, you have to be realistic about it, and you have to know what your tolerance, what is your risk tolerance. Okay, because more than ever there are people who are starting small businesses. Okay, with the advancement of the internet, they're discovering, wow, you can reach people worldwide, right? There's avenues that have never happened before. But there's a lot of people in these spaces. Now, that's not to say that whatever is your idea and whatever you're thinking of doing isn't going to be amazing, and isn't going to be something that's needed and necessary, and isn't going to be something that's going to do well. But I have just seen so many people in this space take advantage of people who are starting out, who really aren't sure and are believing all of this, that they're being, that's being shelled out to them, telling them that it's going to be, that you can't fail. This is your foolproof way. I've seen all the marketing tactics, and it's too much, because the reality is, not everyone who starts a small business, is going to be successful. Not everyone is. Your idea might be great, but the marketing and the audience for it. There's so many things that may not be what someone is trying to tell you that it's going to be if you just follow whatever it is they're trying to sell you. Okay. So I just think it's so important that you look at your risk tolerance, because I am all for freeing us all up to be able to do whatever it is we're passionate about, and to be able to do it well, and to be able to do it enough to make a living, and to be able to do it enough to make a good living, and to be able to have the freedom so that you work for yourself. And I'm all for that. There's nothing more empowering for especially women who have felt like they have no power in work relationships and in work environments. Okay. There's nothing more empowering than to be in starting a small business for yourself and working for yourself. But you need to look at what is your risk tolerance, because in the initial startup, there is going to be more money outlaid. There's going to be, like you said, more time, more of your energy, more of your mental energy, all of these things, the effort, the money to do it, covering your expenses while you're doing that, deciding, are you going to keep your full-time job while you're doing it? I mean, there's all these different things to do that. So honestly, Lisa, what I'm going to say on that is just, I love the idea. I love it. I love it because it's such a fit for so many of us, and a way to really be powerful and to really do what you love and all these things. But I would temper that with, make sure you have got the drive, the ambition, the motivation, the risk tolerance, the finances, the energy. I mean, all of that. So just be real clear. And the more you can do it alongside what you're already doing, that would be great. If you're not doing anything, then I mean, you have nothing to lose, right? If you're able to somehow finance this or have it financed, or if you're able to do this on your own, that's awesome. But however that happens, if you do have a job, the best thing is to take your time with it. I mean, there are people who say, and I mean, I love this too, right? I mean, the saying, darling, what if you fly? The person jumping off, taking the great leap. And it's like, darling, what if she says, what if I fall? And, the saying, darling, what if you fly? I love that. That is so inspirational. But I also have recognized, because I've seen it with women who get caught up in all the pretty fancy ads and the words from these people who make all this money and are promising all of this with a little disclaimer and fine print. I've just seen them taken advantage of, and I don't want that to happen. So I just want to temper that with, make sure that you have got everything, clearly defined and set up, and make sure you've got your safety net there for you before you jump, so that you've got enough in place so that you'll be able to jump well. Okay. Leap well and have those, the wings appear and all that stuff. Okay. Because there is nothing worse than, having this idea, because so many of us are such idealists and think of all these things. So make sure that you're also being realistic, and bringing reality to this of what that actually looks like. I never, ever want to discourage you, but I want to encourage you to make sure that you've got, all your ducks in a row, that you know what you're doing, that you have a plan, to combat, when you feel like giving up, or when you feel like, that you have to know your why. You have to know why you're doing it. I think that's the most important thing. Why? So I would start there. Ask yourself why, and then answer all my other questions that I said here. And then, decide for yourself and do it slowly. Like I said, if you can be maintaining another job or at the same time and go it slowly, or if you can, just pace yourself so that you're not just jumping off the deep end with something that someone is promising you, that you just have to follow their formula and you're going to win, because that formula works for them, and that's great. And it may work for a lot of other people, but at the same time, you need to be realistic too, and know that if they're, they may want you and be encouraging you to do it because it benefits them too some way. So if this is just you and your idea, then that's awesome. But make sure that you've got reputable sources, and that you're keeping one foot on the ground and one in the clouds. Okay, so both places, and that's yeah. Okay, Lisa. I hope that helps, gives you something more to go on. Okay. So now I've got Chrissy. Okay. Chrissy, I don't know if this is my Chrissy here, but I'm answering from a Chrissy on here. And she writes to me, hello, Jane. I am starting to see someone I knew from 40 years ago. Wow. Okay. So that's, and this is one of my favorites, Chrissy. Because there's a lot of, Facebook has made that possible. There's a lot of finding your old loves from crushes or boyfriends from a long time ago and reuniting. And I'm always happy to address these because there's a lot of that. And a lot of people can benefit from your same story here. He admitted he has a casual relationship, friends with benefits. Okay, so he's got someone he's basically sleeping with. He's got friends with benefits. At the beginning, I was happy for him not to change that, as I was not sure how we would progress. Okay, so it seemed like a safe thing in the beginning. We're now processing, but now I'm not sure how to deal with the situation. Okay, so processing or progressing, I'm not sure what you meant. He said he does not want to hurt the other person, but understands he will need to have a discussion. So not to come across needy or pushy of him to actually doing this. And yet I also have not fully committed, mainly because of the situation, and we're still getting to know each other. But I also feel bad for the friend with benefits. Plus, I do not want to progress with someone who has this arrangement. Okay, reading this back, I realize it sounds logically what should be done, but I'd be interested in your take and how I should navigate, how to word any conversation on this with him, etc. Okay. All right. So this sounds like, okay, so he's already with someone. He doesn't want to hurt either one of you. So it sounds like the two of you are getting, okay, so you're progressing. You also feel bad. Okay, so you know what I'm going to say to you? I think you know what I'm going to say to you. So you read this back. So this is awesome. Okay, little exercise. Anytime you're not sure, write me a question and read it back to yourself and see if your answer isn't clear, okay? Because this happens a lot. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. I want you to read this back to yourself. So go back to my email. Go back to your email you wrote to me. And I want you to read it back to you. And the logical thing that you think you should do, I want you to walk through that you did that and see how that feels on the other side of it. What do you need to watch out for? Do you have regrets? So whatever you do here, what happens on the other side of it? Because that's what I want you to look at. How are you going to deal with that? That's the aftermath. Okay? Because it does sound like it to me here that you're feeling bad for this other person. And it sounds pretty clear. The fact that this person was in this friends with benefit relationship to begin with, when you came into this, I think you had your doubts right there. And so here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with you because you're in this. You know way more than I do without knowing you more, without having conversations with you deeper where I can ask you all kinds of back and forth questions. It is really clear that you're not sure about all of this and you feel bad. You're not sure about him and you're not sure about someone. I think this is my pivotal point here, Chrissy. It's that you're not sure that you can be with someone, that you want to go forward with someone who could be in this arrangement in the first place. And I think that's your answer, because that's what I'm reading here that you're saying, because you talk about feeling bad for her twice. You talk about that you were okay with it in the beginning because you weren't really sure how it was going to go. And now you're saying you're actually saying you don't want to progress with someone who has this arrangement in the first place. So, I mean, that's clear. That's clear. You have communicated to me in writing this what you have picked up on in writing this. And that is that, yeah, you do not want to move forward with him. So how to word the conversation to him, how you navigate it? I would be honest with him and I would say, I've really enjoyed reconnecting with you. I think it's nice. We have a nice friendship. We have, something special, I think. I enjoy your company and all that, but I think we have other things that we're not aligned with. We have other things where we're not compatible. And those things, are enough to me that I don't think this is something that I want to continue with. I mean, you can be as direct as you want to be. What I'm picking up on here from you, the fact that you want to know how to word this, you're not going for the direct conversation. You want to be a little bit, you want to add some humanity into it of yours, right? So, because you could just say to him, look, it's been great to reconnect with you, but clearly I'm realizing we're on two different pages. I don't think it's fair to both of us to continue on like this. So, I think we should just be friends. That's the easiest thing. That is the absolute easiest thing. But if you want to be gentler with it and you want to break it down into saying, it seems like there's just we're not on the same page here, and there's some compatibility things, and so I'm thinking that as much as I care about you and as much as I have enjoyed reconnecting with you, I don't see there being enough in the long term to continue. I guess the other thing I would ask you is what feels hard about that? What feels hard about being direct with him? Because essentially, this is what you're saying. I mean, are you thinking this is going to be, again, are we looking at signs here? I get this a lot where we meet someone from the past, right? And you had this connection and you've been brought back together. Facebook magically brings the two of you back together. And it seems like I should see where this goes. We've got a history. There's familiarity. But clearly, from the very beginning, the fact that he would be with someone in the first place in a friends with benefits relationship, that there is someone else, even though you allowed it, I mean, he was okay with it too. I think that says something. I think the fact that he was okay with it. I think, and this is what I am picking up on, because when a guy is really interested in seeing where this goes, he does not want to still have someone on the side. Okay. He doesn't want to still continue with that. And the fact that you went along with it, I don't know. Did you really go along with it? Or were you picking up on the fact that it was safer because it would mean that you didn't run the risk of getting too involved with someone who wasn't going to be compatible with you in the first place, that he could do that he could continue with someone, that he could have just a friends with benefit relationship? Because there is a certain personality, a guy who can have that friends with benefits relationship. So, yeah, Chrissy, I think you've answered it yourself. And I think the direct approach, you can soften it a little bit, but, I think less is more. Do not go down the role of defending and explaining. Don't do that. Just the shorter, the better. And that goes with everything. Okay. Shorter, the better. All right. Let's see. I've got Donna. Are you here, Donna? Donna wrote to me, and Donna, I need more information from you, because Donna said, "Hi, Jane. Thanks so much. I'm wanting to know about my living situation. Where, when, and how." Okay. So I'm going to need more information, but I am going to just say one thing. I'm going to say that your living situation is within your control, to the point that you are in control of it here. So what do you need to do to be in control of your living situation? Whatever's going on, not sure what's going on, but I just, I want to give you something here. And so that is, find out what it is. What do you need to do to feel more in control? Again, this goes back to earlier, and you can replay back and go to the person who was asking me if I was going to know if her wonderful friendship that she was having with someone, she's having a sweet friendship with someone. She wanted to know, was it going to become something more? And what I talked to her about on there, what I addressed, is the fact that she's asking someone outside of herself, or she's asking him. I mean, it's just the fact that she doesn't feel she has enough power in the relationship to have a say in there. So that's what I would say on this one. So yeah, go back and listen to that one. I think that'll apply to you, whatever your situation is. I think it was the second or third one I answered on here. So it'll be early in the video when it drops here. But go back to that one, because Donna, we got to get you having some control. Got to get you your power back. Got to give you some semblance of your own power, of your having a say, having any level of control here. And so yeah, there's a reason that you don't feel that way. And yeah, so you got to look at that first and see what you can do to get some semblance of control back to move that forward. Okay. And then you'll be able to answer that for yourself. That's what I want. I want you to be able to answer some of these for yourself. Because yes, I mean, we talked about the spiritual part of that in there too. And there is always that spiritual piece. But more important than anything else is your own clarity and your own feeling, stepping into your own energy and stepping into your own power. There's something powerful that happens with that. When that aligns with the spiritual, that's huge. That's where I want you to go with all this. Your power aligning with something bigger outside of yourself that is the spiritual or the whatever it is you believe in, the higher power, that aligns so much more beautifully and deliberately and purposefully when you have clarity. So you need to get that clarity and figure out and answer the question of why you don't feel that you've got that. Okay. All right. Okay, I've got someone else. Cherry is here. Cherry's here. Sent me an email. Cherry, are you here? If you are not on here, then I'm sure you'll catch it on the replay that I'll send out. Hey, Cherry, you have been dating someone for 4.5 months. Okay, 4.5 months. He only comes to my house. He only has me come to his house on Saturday afternoon until late on Sunday night. Okay, I'm already seeing something wrong here with just the fact that you're wording this. He only has me come to his house. Okay, there is no power in that. I'm gonna tell you why that's important in a minute, but I just want you to note here that you are giving away your power or you're feeling powerless here. But regardless, the words that you chose here, he only has me come to his house on Saturday afternoon until late on Sunday night. He's calling the shots here, and there's something wrong with that. This is not going to be a healthy relationship. Before I read it any further, this is not a healthy relationship if you are feeling like he's the gatekeeper. He only allows you to come to his house on Saturday afternoon until late Sunday night. What about you? What about what you want? Do you not have a say here? Is there not a mutual back and forth discussion of what you want and what you say? What happened to you? Okay, because that's clear for me here. Something happened to you here. My guess is it's the dynamic between the two of you, but I think you also probably have bought into someone mentioned it here, the nice girl curse, where you are supposed to be the one who, defers to him. But deferring to someone leads to resentment, which was an earlier one I answered. Resentment and anger. Okay, so this is a sign, this is a red flag for me that not healthy, and it's going to lead to resentment and anger if it continues, because specifically he's calling the shots here. He's the one who's saying this, and he's dictating how often you see him. You can't have, it needs to be a mutual thing. So why does he have more say? Why is he deciding, compartmentalizing his relationship with you so that you have certain hours? Okay, I was in one of those. Those are really bad because you don't know what's going on the rest of the time, and you're on the begging end because you're always looking for more, or to even change. Can we do this instead? Why do you have to ask? There's a reason you have to ask. It's the dynamic and it's the guy, but you're contributing to it too. So I'm going to help. We're going to finish this reading through this, and I'm going to tell you how to change it. Okay. Okay. Never spending the night on Sunday night or getting together during the week. We only text or talk 2 times during the week, one day being Friday, when we decide what we're doing for the weekend. Okay, well, that's good. You both decide what you're doing for the weekend. Okay, but it doesn't negate the other. We're going to go back to that. It confuses me, but I have a hard time bringing it up. He talks about going to Florida next winter. So he seems committed. Neither of us have ever said, I love you. I have told him cheating would be an automatic deal breaker, and he agreed. Okay. I just feel confused. I truly don't know where I fit in his life or why he doesn't want to see me or talk to me more. Okay. Where I fit in his life or why he doesn't want to. Okay, I already read that. Also, on our 4th date, he took me to his family's house for Thanksgiving. He's met my grown kids in January. He's never been married, has no kids. Okay, and he's 65. Okay, so we got an older guy here. All right. I'm so confused. All right. So first of all, okay, so I got another point, then we'll go back. So on the confusion, anytime you're confused, okay, you're confused because he is sending you a clear message, but you don't want to hear the message he's sending you. And so you're confused because his clear message is in the mixed signals. Never ever doubt that mixed signals are not a cause for you to be confused. They're a sign for you to be absolutely clear that he likes giving you mixed signals because it means there's ambiguity here. The relationship is on his terms, and he can pull it back or add more whenever he wants to. So when you are confused because of mixed signals, he is purposely, even though he would probably deny it, giving you mixed signals because it's working for him. It works for him. Okay. So what I want to say to this is, instead of him always getting the say here and deciding what you guys do, because it sounds like you guys decide what you're doing on the weekend, but it sounds like you have a very regimented, this is what you do, and this is when you do it. So basically, you have his Saturday afternoon till Sunday night. Oh, and you said you were retired. You're both retired here. So he has time during the week, in other words, is what I'm hearing from you. Okay. So the most important thing here. Okay. So you feel confused where you fit into his life and why he doesn't. Okay. You fit into his life exactly what you're seeing. Okay. No confusion here. You fit into his life Saturday afternoon until late on Sunday night. That is where you fit into his life. If you don't like that, if you can't live with that, you need to either talk to him about it and give him a chance to alter that, to change that, because you have a direct conversation with him. Again, it can be playful and fun, like I talked about in one of the earlier ones. But you need to bring it up. You need to have a conversation with him about it, or else you need to find someone else. If you don't want to have, if you are afraid to bring up that direct conversation, if you feel like you're going to lose him if you do, that's telling too. But if you're not sure about any of that, and you don't want to talk to him about it, then you need to make a decision of whether or not you can live with this, because this is clear. And it doesn't matter your fourth date, he took you to his family's house for Thanksgiving. That's nice. And he's met your grown kids. But yeah, my concern here is, it sounds okay. You haven't said I love you. It's okay. Let him say it first. That's always, I'll add that in just because it came up. But the whole thing, it's only been 4.5 months. I think you need more time to see what happens if you say to him, the Saturday afternoon to Sunday night is just feeling kind of regimented to me. I'd love to be more spontaneous, like maybe phrase it that way, right? I'd love to be more spontaneous. Do you think that we could maybe see each other? Or what do you think? Don't ask. I like this better. What do you think about, and then present him with your plan. Okay. Your idea. So what do you think if we mix it up, and how about we see each other? I don't know. Is there something going on during the week that you would like to do with him? Is there something you'd like to watch with him, or a movie you'd like to see, or is there like I don't know, some theaters used to have like cheap theater movie tickets nights. I don't know. You could say, we could go see a movie this cheap movie night. Maybe there's some special, some restaurants have certain nights have certain specials. Maybe there's something like that. If you come up with a reason and just get them out of that comfort zone and tie it to something real, you might find, hey, I get more time with him, and it's something interesting. So it doesn't just seem like I'm asking for more time. Mind you, there is nothing wrong with asking for more time. I'm just saying, if you feel like you don't want to be the one asking for more time, then tie it to something and just suggest it for something else. Okay. So I would do that. And because it sounds like, and if he even talked about going to Florida, so it sounds like he's making plans with you. I think this is a case that this is really working for him. But my concern is that your language saying he only has me come to his house on Saturday evening, and Saturday afternoon until Sunday night. It's the fact that you're giving him power. So what I want you to do is take your power back by recognizing you don't want to be resentful. You don't want to get angry and resentful here, okay? Where you end up having a blow up, where you end up saying to him, we never do anything except Saturday afternoon to Sunday evening. I don't want you to get to that point, because I've seen that too much. And that is not productive. You say things you don't mean, and he's left there, well, I thought you were fine with it because you never said anything, right? So I need you to say something early before it gets to that point. And so think about suggesting something, tying it into something that happens during the week. Do something like that. Yeah, a movie matinee. I love it. Do something like that, so that it will be during a time when you don't normally see him. So it will feel like a win for you. It'll feel like something of getting your own power back. And it also, to him, will be a reminder that, hey, she wants to mix it up a little bit. She might like to be a little more spontaneous, or she might, right? So add that in there, because he's yeah, you need to find out more of what he's about. It's only been 4.5 months. So if this is going to be a deal breaker, I mean, if this is a big deal for him and he needs to only see you Saturday afternoon to Sunday night, you need to know that too, because you need to find out, can I live with that? But I would definitely, considering that it's early enough, the 4.5 months, and considering you've both agreed, you both talk about not cheating. That's good. You've laid the groundwork, and good for you. You were direct about that, so you can be direct about this too. Okay. And he talks about going to Florida next winter. So, I mean, us is, the two of you, right? So that's how you're interpreting it. It's the two of you going to Florida together. Those are all positive things. So don't jump in with this with a, don't you sabotage this by deciding that he only wants to see you during this time and there's no changing it. And so you just have to resign yourself to this, where you just grow resentful because you don't bring it up and you just assume. You have to talk to him about it. You have to say something. And again, playful is good. But that's what I would do. And see what he's got. See how he responds. That will tell you a lot. And keep it as playful and light. I think I gave some tips earlier on another and when I answered about how to sound more playful and that type of thing. Okay, so do that. Okay. Angie writes to me. Okay, Angie, are you here, Angie? Hi, Angie. If you're not on here, I'll talk to you on the replay. Angie said, I met a man I truly fell for. I've been divorced one time after a 33-year marriage. He has been divorced 3 times and has been through 2 engagements. Okay, so 2 engagements that didn't work out. Interesting. We'll find that out maybe more in here. We hit it off with a bang, but I found out he was in a physical relationship with me also. And this sounds like, if you want to go back to the one I talked to 2 or 3 questions ago about the woman who was with a guy who was in a friends with benefits relationship with someone when they met. Okay, so you found that out. He was in a physical relationship while he was with you. Okay. Then you found out he's having a social media affair and attempted to meet the woman 4 hours away, but she stood him up. Okay, why is she standing him up, right? Okay, these are a bunch of red flags here. Our relationship went so fast downhill that I really couldn't see what was happening. Okay, well, that actually can be a blessing in disguise when it happens so fast rather than being drawn out. He wanted to keep us a secret on social media. Okay, there are so many red flags in here. I had coached this woman who had such a hard time getting over a guy. He kept her hidden for like months. I think it might have even been years. And so many, and she's, trying to get over him. I don't know how long you've been with this guy now, but okay. He goes from hot to cold. Okay, he wanted to keep you a secret on social media. Seldom do we go out in public. Yeah, these are all red flags. Okay, you can't have somebody who's keeping you a secret in public. He goes from hot to cold in 10 seconds. He'll go to bed with his back turned to me, doesn't show affection, never has kissed me but on the lips during sex. Okay, there are so many red flags. I can't wait to get to your question. He says he wants a future with me, but I don't think that can possibly happen. Yeah. There is no way. This guy wants a future with you that looks exactly like this. Okay, if this is working for him, it's not going to be any better than this. I don't think that can possibly happen. I don't either, Angie. What do you think? I don't either. I do not see that happening. There are so many red flags in here. I mean, he's okay. Now we all know we can get it wrong, right? We can be with the wrong person, discover too late, find it out after we're married, right? So divorce 3 times. I mean, that is a red flag 3 times, but I know there are those of you who've been divorced 3 times as well, and you feel like you want the same grace extended to you to be extended to him. So, we'll give him that. But 2 engagements as well. I'm assuming after that. These women, obviously, I'm assuming they broke it off. I don't know. But I mean, there's a woman he was going to meet while he's with you, and another one he was in a physical relationship with. This other woman stands him up. She doesn't meet him, and it's 4 hours away. He actually attempts to meet some woman. He's going to drive 4 hours for some woman when he has you. Okay, these are all, and that's not a reflection on you. I don't say that because you're not good enough that he needs to go 4 hours away. I say that as, okay, this guy clearly isn't compatible with you. He wants something different. He wants something very different in here. The hot to cold in 10 seconds. I mean, does that work for you? I don't think so. So, I mean, I would ask, I mean, on all these, right? Someone who keeps you a secret on social media. Well, of course he keeps you a secret on social media so he can meet other women because he wants to be able to meet someone else like this attempt 4 hours away who stood him up. He wants more of that. So, okay, so that's clear to me. Someone who goes to bed with their back turned to you, you don't tell me how long you've been in this relationship. I mean, there is a difference between two people who, like sleeping arrangements. Some people sleep hot, right? They don't want someone cuddling all over them. Some people sleep cold. They want someone, all over them. So, I mean, going to bed with your back turned to you, some people sleep better that way. But, um, these should be like things in that everything else is good. And then there's these things. But everything in here, I don't see anything good in here. I really don't. I mean, even the fact that you hit it off with a bang, okay, that's a red flag. Most of you will not consider that a red flag because that seems like all the chemistry and all the spark and all the exciting stuff. So it's not a good thing to hit it off with a bang before you get to know someone, because what that tells you is this guy is jumping into something without knowing you either. So it's like, if he's done this with you, who else has he done this with? This is a pattern. If a guy will be that excited about you right from the start before he's even met you, that's a concern. Because why is he not wanting to take his time to get to know you? I mean, this is where you can slow it down. So you can do something here. It all was not lost at this point, because when you do hit it off with someone like that, you need to slow it down so you can find out, is he in a physical relate, like all these things you found out, right? Like he's in a social media affair, he's in a relationship with someone else, he's meeting this other woman. So when you hit it off with a bang, when there's all that, slow it down so you can find this stuff out, because you want to find this stuff out before it's after the fact. But someone who never doesn't show affection, never has kissed you except during sex. I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he may want a future with you because he knows how good he has it with you, but I don't see there isn't really anything here. So that's what I think. I think, Angie, I think that you truly fell for this guy with a lot of charisma, a guy who does this because he knows he can only sustain this kind of, relationship for so long before he gets bored and goes to someone else because he doesn't want a real relationship. I mean, the fact that this woman stands him up, who he meets, he drives 4 hours to see her. I mean, it sounds like she knows, more about him than you do, and for good reasons stood him up. Anyway, all of this in here, I that's what I think. So if there's anything that isn't clear about what I think, let me know. But that's it's pretty clear. I don't see what's in it for you, and that's what I come back to. Like, what are you getting out of this? What is in this for you? What is I agree with you. I think listen to your own intuition here. I don't think that can possibly happen. I don't think it can either. I don't see anything in there that's pointing to that makes it happen. Okay. Okay, Sarah said, "Hi, Jane. I am struggling with the feeling of not being good enough for love. I was in an abusive marriage and then once divorced, I fell in love with someone whose heart belonged elsewhere and he used me. I feel completely broken and not deserving of true love. What is wrong with me?" Okay, Sarah. Sarah, you here? All right. You'll get it on the replay. So here's my answer for you, Sarah. There is nothing wrong with you. Okay. There's nothing wrong with you. There are so many different people who are compatible with other people other than us. And we're compatible with others. Okay. I don't know how I'm saying that, but you know what I mean? Like, we're compatible with different people and everyone is compatible with someone. But just because you're finding the ones to prove that you're not good enough because you're not compatible with them isn't a measure of your worth, isn't a measure of whether or not you deserve true love. So I will tell you that being in an abusive marriage you cannot feel worthy of love when you're in an abusive marriage. Okay. If you are in any kind of an abusive relationship ever, you are not going to feel worthy. You are going to feel there's something wrong with you. You're going to feel there's something wrong with you. Okay. It's not possible that you are going to come out of that with high self-esteem, feeling worthy, feeling good enough. And then it makes perfect sense. And I'm so sorry you went through that, by the way. I mean, that is just, no one should ever be in relationships, and especially to do with love, that are abusive. And yet we are, because of various reasons and circumstances. And so, my heart goes out to you that you ever experienced that in the first place, because, but I will say that is essentially, it's either you already felt not good enough, and then you were in a relationship where there was abuse, um, or that, being in an abusive marriage ended up beating you up, and you came out of it feeling like there's something wrong with you. Okay. And I will say this too. I want to point this out really clearly, that when you come out of an abusive marriage, I'm glad you got out, and you divorced, you fell in love with someone whose heart belonged elsewhere, and he used me. Okay, so that is the most common thing. If there was a pattern, if there was a pattern, that would be it. If there was essentially a prescription for, when you get out of a relationship, this is what you're going to do. That pattern is so clear. It's like, if you don't recognize the factors that had you staying in that and attracted to someone like that and getting into that in the first place, okay, if you're not able to address those and understand those and come to know yourself well enough to understand how you got there and how you want to make sure you never go back there, the first guy that you're going to find is someone who is probably even worse than your ex, or something different, because I experienced this so many times with the women that I am coaching. They will tell me, they'll say they either, sadly they lost someone, their husband died, passed away, or else they are divorced. And I'll think that they're coming to talk to me about getting over that guy. And you know who they're telling me about? I bet you can guess it. They're telling me about the guy that came after that. He's the guy that they can't get over. He's the guy who's so much worse than the guy that they originally had. And so they're coming for help getting over, processing what happened with the guy after the abusive marriage they got out of, or the guy who tragically passed away. They're talking about that. So I just want you to know that is the surest thing. That does not surprise me at all. I want you to see that, because I want you to understand how common it is. I want you to understand that that is the pattern. If there was a prescription that was followed, it would be, that is the natural prescription that is followed after every abusive marriage, okay, or abusive relationship. When you get out of it, you find someone who is usually seems so much better initially and is even worse after when you get to know him. Okay, so I want to normalize that for you, because I see this all the time. So I hear this, and it just, I mean, literally, I'm never surprised anymore that it's that brings someone to me, not the original, heartbreak that you think is going to be. It's the second one. The second guy was so much worse. So it is so I want to normalize feeling broken and not deserving a true love after that, because I want you to see there's nothing wrong with you. I want you to see this is not you. This is not on you. Okay? It's not. What happened here is you're with the wrong guy. There's something about, now my guess is, again, it's funny, Dan, I'm using this again. The nice girl curse comes in all of these, right? Because we have this idea in our belief system about how we behave in relationships. We have this idea of how we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to act. And we have our checklists of everything in there, the check boxes. And if we can check all these boxes, and we're going to have a great relationship. We've got the formula for it. And it's just, that is not true. Because you can't, you're going to keep attracting the same thing until you can look closely at those beliefs, at that good girl behavior that says, I have to behave a certain way. I can't rock the boat. I can't, I have to keep the peace. And especially if you come out of something, you're going to be, you're going to think you're in something different. And then you're going to be surprised when it's the same thing, but different, but similar in the unhealthy ways. And it's just, it's not healthy to be in that. So what is wrong is that you've learned a pattern of being attracted to certain men. Your checklist, when you go through, again, probably a subconscious checklist, you're checking off the wrong things. And what you need to be looking at is someone who it's the qualities they have about their character. Are they kind? Are they kind? Are they compassionate? Are they communicative? Are they clear? Are they compassionate and understanding? And how do they treat you? All these things. Is it just a temporary thing where they come off well and they show you this idea of how they are, and it's all for show, but underneath, you have to take your time getting to know someone. And so the saddest part of this to me is that you left someone who, or he left, whatever, the second relationship after this one that completely broke you, and left you not deserving of true love. So that is a relationship that should never have happened in the first place. So basically this guy, if you had been able to see these things more clearly, you would not have gotten yourself in this position in the first place. But this is not to put that on you, because you couldn't have known that. Okay. You would have seen him probably as just being everything that this other guy wasn't, who you were in this relationship with before. And clearly you would have seen this as, you finally had someone who was different. He seemed to be caring. He probably seemed to be all those things. But what's missing is you have to take longer to make sure that this is actually who he is. And you have to be also clear about who you are and what you need. And so you have to be able to be direct enough to speak up, to tell him, to teach him how to treat you. There's a video I have called Why He Treats You the Way He Does. And essentially we teach people how to treat us. And we teach them in very subtle ways, but it's the simple things. And this is where I usually get this in your language. When you say, he only lets me see him, he only allows me to see him once, one day on the weekend. When you say things like, he doesn't want any more than this. He acts like I'm not even there, or he treats me like whenever you say those things, there's a problem with the power in the relationship. And so usually what happened is something to do with power here, where you fell into this thinking that he was going to be different from the guy before you, and he wasn't, or he was different in a different way, but there was something that happened here, and he used you, and that's tragic. And so without going into more detail on this, because I could tell you a lot more based on more detail, but I will say this, that there is nothing wrong with you, except that you are finding the same type of men attractive, and you're checking off whatever you're checking off subconsciously. You need to be looking for a different kind of man, a different type of guy. The guy that you're looking for is not the guy you want. So whatever you need to do to find a different guy, other than that, you need to play around with that. You need to see what happens if I am with someone who I'm looking more through the eyes of, I'm looking for a friend. I'm looking for someone who can be my friend. I'm looking for someone who I will be truly compatible as human beings. So I need to have enough in common with this person in terms of basic human functions, basic humanity. We need to have these things that are in common. So it's the clarity that you are with someone who is actually compatible with you, and not just someone who you feel like can fix you, who can take your broken pieces and put them all back together. I can tell you so many horror stories of women who came from abusive relationships and found a guy who seemed like he had everything in him to put all their pieces back together and heal them, make them all better. And I will tell you, they actually found underneath, he was like the worst kind. He was not the kind who was going to do that for them, but he appeared that way because the things they were looking for, they didn't know how else to look for them. So none of this is your fault, Sarah. I want to be clear about that. Our society really teaches you well how to do exactly what you did. Come out of that relationship, go to someone who probably was a little bit broken himself, or maybe came across as the strong guy who's going to fix it all and make it all better. And you believed him and you thought it was going to be different with him. That's on him. I mean, that's not on you. But the part that we can control is that we can take longer to really get to know someone, and we can be aware of the red flags first. Because usually there's some red flags. I mentioned, I think, answering in the previous couple of questions ago. There's usually red flags that you can't pick up on because we just, we've been taught a part of being women in our culture is to see certain red flags as actually being signs of, move forward. This is exciting. This is good. You've met someone else. This is going to be different. And yet there's still red flags. So I would look at that as being indicators that you need to do something different, that you need to change this, by looking for, I talked about this too earlier, dating for more for, you're interviewing someone. You're in the driver's seat and you're looking for compatibility. You're trying to figure out, will someone be compatible with me? Is this person going to be someone who is going to be, looking out for, do we have enough in common here is this person going to actually care about the real me, and just things like that. Just like I said, the qualities I listed off. Those are the things you want to be looking for. His character. How does he treat people? How does he treat, how much is a show and how much is for real? How much, I mean, that, that takes time. That all takes time. So without knowing more of these things and how long it's been, how long you were with him and all these, I would just say go slow. If a guy cannot wait for you, that's on him. That's not on you. And if you lose someone because he can't wait, so that you can make sure that you've got enough information. I want you to see everything as information when you're getting to know someone. You need information to know if he's worth going on the next date with, seeing again, and not putting all your eggs in one basket and jumping in to anything too quickly with him just because he seems to promise like he's going to be able to fix you. You don't need fixing. You really don't. All you need is to recognize that you are in environments and with people who could never see you. You're just looking for people who can see you, the right ones. Okay? Because if someone can see you, the real you, and doesn't have expectations that you're supposed to be a project for him to fix, or someone he can rescue, or someone that needs, something that he can feel like he has to be able to see you. If he comes into this thinking that I will be able to fix her, and then he just does this all over again because the way that he thought it was going to look like to fix you didn't pan out that way, or you ended up not being what he had imagined this person who he met was going to be. He needs to get to know the real you. He needs to be able to see you. He needs to have the capacity to see you in the first place. Okay. So I hope you can figure out that. That was a little bit wordy, but I want to get everything in there because it's more the feeling of this. I really want you to get what that feels like to be with someone healthy versus who you have been with. Okay, nothing wrong with you. You're just the only thing might be that you're just attracted to and finding these men and choosing these men before they deserve to be chosen by you. Okay, before you have a reason to choose them that tells you that they're going to be worth the long term. Okay. All right, Sarah. The next one I've got here is from Shaitan, and Shaitan is saying. Shaitan, I'm not sure if you're here or not, too, but if you are, we're on the replay. Yeah, I'm answering you. I hope you're able to answer mine, she wrote. So here you are, Shaitan. I'm answering yours. Okay, I'm a 51-year-old woman who has a 41-year-old boyfriend that lives with me. I've had a 50-year-old single independent man after me for years. Okay, so you got a 50. So a guy who's more your age has been after you for years. And now I think he would have been a better choice for me. Okay, so you've been with this guy. So you're living now, but he lives with you. So it sounds like he's moved in with you. So you got this younger guy who's 10 years younger that lives with you. But you're actually realizing the more you've gotten to know this guy and lived with him now for a while, that the one you're living with is not going to be as compatible as the other guy who's more in line with you. You love your boyfriend, but him living with me doesn't give me the sense of him being able to lead me. Yes, exactly. That's what I was picking up on. He's moved in with you. You want someone to lead you. He's not. No, if he's moved in with you, you're the leader. He's perfectly happy the way things are. Yeah, exactly. So no, yeah, he's giving you the sense of not being able to lead you because you're right. He's not. I want to be accountable to someone, not for someone. Okay, so that's clear. Yeah, this guy's not here for that. I've told him twice I no longer want to live together. He's fighting really hard for this. Should I just be honest and tell him I want to start seeing someone else? Okay. If being honest with him and telling him that you want to start seeing someone else is going to be any concern for your physical, emotional, or mental safety because you are still living together, then I would not tell him that you want to be seeing someone else. Okay. I actually don't think you need to go into that detail because again, I think it'll go poorly if you tell him I need to see someone else. Yeah, I mean honesty is good, and it's good to be honest, but I'm not clear on so I would look at that first. Are there any repercussions with consequences of telling him that you want to see someone else? You can tell him that, but I think I'm looking more here that it should be enough to tell him that you no longer want to live together. So if he's fighting you on this, I think it's because you probably feel bad or you feel guilty, and you're thinking if you can be honest with him and tell him that you want to start seeing someone else, that would be better. I want to tell you what's going to be better. I think it'll be so much better for you as a character building thing, as a personal thing here. I think it's going to be so good for you if you can tell him and not get into a round and around conversation that I'm guessing you've already told him twice and had a conversation and he's fighting you hard. I would want you to tell him and mean it and be firm with him, because I think that'll be so good for you. I think it'll be so good. So I would not tell him you're seeing someone else. I would do this for you, where you would say, I'm realizing that we are just not as compatible as I thought we were. And, you can say, I want to be free to, meet someone else. And I want you to be free to meet someone else who is going to be better for you. I mean, make it mutual, right? It's going to be, if I'm not the one for you and you're not the one for me, and I'm seeing that we're not the ones for each other, you are going to be so much better off being able to be free to find someone who is. It's not fair to you to be with me when there's something here to that. And it's not fair to you. It's not fair to either of us. It's not fair to me or to you. Okay. So, I would clearly, this guy, you're on two different pages. You want to be able to have someone who will lead. He's not. That's not your guy. So I would tell him firmly and clearly, and I would just say, I've already told you twice, and I feel like you haven't listened because you're still here and we're still here together. So, I want to be clear that I'm just not seeing the compatibility here. I want you to be free to move on. I want to be free to move on. And so this isn't working out. And then pick a date. I need you to be out by such and such a date. Be realistic and be reasonable. But I need to be able to have my house back by a certain time. I want to make sure to be fair to you, to give you enough time to meet someone or to find a place. If you meet someone, that's great. But I need you to be able to, have some time to find a place. But to me, 30 days is a reasonable amount of time. I don't know. Can you handle that? So figure out something. If there is a conversation, the only thing the conversation is about how he's going to move out. That's it. That's what the conversation is about. Okay. All right. I hope that one helps. Okay. Tracy, are you here? All right. Tracy, you will see this on the replay then, if you're here, you're hearing this now. Tracy wants to know, how much contact should your boyfriend have with his 2 ex-wives? Okay. How much contact, and she puts in parentheses, email, social media, phone calls, lunch, dinner, sleepovers. Okay, so this tells me, Tracy, there's a lot of contact going on that he wants to have, right? Because you've listed them all. My guess is you're sick of this and you're tired of hearing this from him and you're done. So you're going to ask me and you're going to get the unequivocal answer that this is, you want your answer on this. He says it's not cheating as he's known them for years and they're friends. Okay. Sleepovers and okay. Oh, so this was going to be my next question. You answered it. He's known one for 20 years, the other ex-wife for 8. No children are involved. That was going to be my question. Are there children involved? So you answered that. That's awesome. He's proud that he's maintained this friendship. I've stated my standard and boundaries and feel our relationship is more important. Okay, I agree with you, and it's good. You've stated your standards, your boundaries. So I'm going to tell you the fact that there are no children involved. needs minimal to no contact with them. And this is the problem. The fact that you said he's proud that he's maintained this friendship. So there's something in here where he's really proud of the fact, as part of his identity, he's proud that he does not have a crazy ex or some kind of a, dysfunctional relationship, that there isn't this animosity, that there isn't this bad relationship, bad vibes, all that, right? So he is proud of this. So this is part of his identity. He is proud of this fact. He wants to make sure that he feels it's his right. He feels it's a good thing. This is going to be a tough one to talk him out of, because he's proud of it. He feels it's a good thing. He wants this. So what I'm going to say on this here is that you're not going to talk him out of this because it makes sense, because someone says who you perceive as any kind of an authority. Like, basically, you're never going to get enough of an authority in here to tell him that he shouldn't be having all this contact with his two ex-wives. You're not going to come to it from a commonsensical, matter of fact, talking about it way. How you're going to come to it is by you talking with him about how you feel. So you have to talk to him about how it makes you feel. That's your way out here. Okay. That's the only way to resolve this. You have to tell him how you feel, and you have to feel like you have an authority within yourself, that you don't need some outside authority to tell you that and to tell him essentially that it's not okay for him to have this much contact with them. So what I would decide here is, what are you comfortable with? What is your level of contact here? Because, and then the other thing is, I mean, what is this? Does he really need friends with his exes? Because I would tell him, I do not feel comfortable with all this contact you have with your exes. There are no children involved. And, the fact that this is something that you seem proud of, to me, it's not something that, I mean, I can understand, if you say, I don't think you really understand it. So you can say, this is clearly something that is your thing, that you feel proud of this, but you can say that this is true. I can tell you from all my experience with women in relationships with exes and with boyfriends and new husbands who have exes, unless there are children involved, it is really rare to have contact like this with exes if there are no children involved. And it is actually, unless it is agreeable to both of them and there's no children involved, it is not that common. And it's always only if it's agreeable to both. So, I mean, I can tell you that in authority, that's clear. I mean, you can pull any women on that one and they'll confirm that for you anywhere around the world. So I'm going to tell you, you're way out of this here. So I'm agreeing with you. Okay. I'm agreeing with you completely. And I know all these other women who are going to agree with you as well. But what I'm going to say is that you're not going to win this argument. You're not going to convince him by just throwing up facts and things like that and support for your opinion, your side. It's going to be, you're going to have to tell him how you feel. And you're going to have to tell him why you feel this way. And you're going to have to know that you may feel that he may then put it on you, and he may say, you're needy, you're whatever, you're just too uptight, you're all this. But that's going to reveal something about him that I think it's important for you to see, because essentially you're telling him how you feel. Okay. And I know for a fact there's someone in here who has gone down this path. And, this is a contentious point. And honestly, if it's not the most popular opinion. It's not that whoever holds the most popular opinion wins. It's not whoever can get the most surveyors to agree wins. No, it's how you feel wins. If one person feels strongly about this, that wins. If one person is bothered by this, that wins, because you care about each other and you care about that. Okay, so that's honestly what I'm going with here. It has to come from you. It has to come from a place that you feel strongly about this, and you feel that you have the ability to, that you have enough clout here, that what you say matters, that your feelings matter. And if you answering him reveals that it doesn't matter, that's a problem. Okay, so that's what I would do. I'm with you here, and don't be afraid to. I mean, if he comes back, if you tell him how you feel, and he can't care enough about how you feel, and all he has is just, all he's got is just belittle it, to make light of it, to put it on you and make it your problem, you're with the wrong guy. If that's not okay with you, and it wouldn't be okay with me, it wouldn't be okay with any other woman on here. So that's what I would go by here. You cannot be with someone. You absolutely cannot be with someone who is going to turn this around on you when you say how you feel and make it that you're the bad guy, that there's something wrong with you. You're too needy, you're too whatever, if it's how you feel. Okay. Because that is what a relationship is. And something on this, I mean, you got the survey anyway. I mean, I guarantee you've got the survey, but what I'm saying is that survey isn't going to make a budge. Your feelings will. And so it has to come from you with those feelings. Okay. All right, Tracy. Next one I've got is from Julie. Hey, Julie. And Julie is going to get this on the replay, I think. Julie asks, how do you find the confidence to actually feel legitimate? What are the steps to actually feeling like your sensitivity and feeling the things you do are a gift and not an inconvenience to the world? Okay. So, Julie, I'm going to tell you that I have a feeling that pretty much everyone on here who is listening, who's going to be watching the replay, who's watching this, is going to feel like their sensitivity is more often than not an inconvenience in so many ways. And they would feel like, yeah, that they would much prefer to not always be so sensitive, to not always see so much and feel so much. And yeah, so the confidence to feel legitimate. So when you understand that the entire culture raised little girls to become women who did not have a strong voice, when you understand how far back that goes, that we were raised to not be clear and confident and sure of ourselves, that was something that was never afforded to women. Women were not supposed to be that. And sensitive men of any kind. I mean, don't forget, anyone sensitive was not taught to be sensitive. I mean, men have been taught to be the exact, I mean, they're not even, we're allowed some sensitivity. I mean, we're allowed to be the sensitive ones, just don't speak up, don't have a voice, right? But men have not even been allowed to have had the quality of being sensitive. I mean, that was, yeah. So, I mean, sensitivity in our culture is not rewarded. It's looked down upon, it's made fun of, it's all these things, right? Because it means the feelers and the ones who feel and see and know, the intuitives, okay, the sensitive ones, if you know what you know, you are going to, and you're allowed to have power with that, and you're allowed to be confident about it, then people are not going to get away with stuff that they're getting away with, right? Because you're going to hold them to account. So you're going to see things, you're going to feel things, you're going to be confident about it. You're going to be making noise about it. You're going to be, up on the hilltop, yelling it from the highest mountaintop. So the issue here is that it's not that there's anything that you need to, so this whole confidence, you need to be confident, it's that you need to find what was never there in the first place. I mean, how hard is that? I mean, which I think it makes it clear. This is why it's such a monumental thing, because it was so not there in the first place. You've never been allowed to be confident about these things. You've never been allowed to feel like legitimate. You've never been allowed to feel like you're not an imposter. You've never been allowed to feel like you have a right to recognize the things you recognize. So I think that, I mean, and this is why, right? Like we have to ask questions about things that would otherwise be known to us, but we have to ask questions because we're not supposed to know these things. We're not given permission to know these things. We're supposed to, gingerly raise our hands and be like, am I allowed to know this? Am I allowed to be this smart? Am I allowed to sense what I'm sensing? So, how do you find, so first of all, it's just knowing where you come from, right? I mean, when that has been the way it is, and I don't mean to paint a bleak picture, I mean to paint a realistic picture so that you understand why it's difficult. Okay, this is why. So first of all, the most important thing is being in the right environment. Make sure you've got people who are supportive, who are on the same page, who understand that. If your inner circle, if your friends, if your partner, if your people around you that you're choosing are not people, and if it is not possible to change those things, if you don't have resources for that support, then I mean this is going to be a really much more difficult step to take. I mean, it's not going to be easy to find that, but the steps to actually feel your sensitivity, okay, never an inconvenience to the world. We need all of you. We need all of us feelers like that. Okay. We need to have as many of us realize this is a gift, and to be speaking more to this and be speaking out more, not less. Okay. To counter how much of these other forces are around. Okay. And we see that all the time around us on a world scale. I mean, it's just, we need the sensitive to speak up together, the intuitives, the ones who know. We need that to build that confidence, because the more you see that, the more confidence there will be around that. So first of all, I mean, that is the most important thing, to surround yourself with that and to recognize it's through joining together and having voices like that, being validated by people who know this and who can actually see you. That's how we get there. But the steps to feel that, so those steps begin with one is recognizing the monumental task it is. Okay, so be realistic. You're not going to do this overnight. Okay, and then notice your environments. Notice the environments you're in. Notice the energy. Notice how you feel in different environments. Notice where you feel most confident. Where do you feel the least confident? And then avoid the environments where you feel the least confident, and move more towards the environments you feel more confident in, or those, if you're in those other environments and they can't be avoided, bring more of your people with you, or bring more of the symbols of your people with you, people who believe in you, people who, bring those sayings with you, have something on your phone, have some reminder in your pocket or something of, write a note to yourself, an index card or a post-it note, and have those places that you can see them when you're in environments where you don't have that. And then, and then practice holding that confidence, even when you feel like someone is questioning it. Okay. So practice the next time that you're in a situation. It's practice really that does this. I mean, that would be like your third step is practice. Practice when you're in situations that you can't avoid, where you are speaking up and you're not sure about your confidence, or you're feeling like you're not legitimate. Hold that. Hold that. Don't make yourself wrong. Don't try to explain yourself. Say less. Okay. Make your point, and don't defend. Don't defend. Don't dig in. Don't defend. Just say your piece and just allow for that space. Whatever someone else might say or think or whatever, let it be theirs. Let them have that. And that would probably be the next step. The fourth step is really to allow everyone to have their own opinions. Okay, allow everyone else to have their own opinions of you and feelings about you and subjective energy about, that you're going to pick up on, that they don't agree with you. Allow them to disagree. Allow them to not agree with you. You're not out to convert anybody. The people who you will inspire will be inspired by you. The people who are lost causes, who will never be inspired by you, at some point you'll either no longer have to be around them, or you'll give up on them, or they'll stop being around you, or you'll just accept that both of you are where you're at. But recognize that everyone, allow them to be themselves, but without the effect to you. And that involves boundaries. I mean, that's the clear cut, having, safe enough walls, without cutting yourself off from the humanity of just discourse, right? I mean, there's going to be where you don't agree. Just accept the fact that you can still communicate with someone. You can still be in with someone. You can still be around someone who you disagree with. But you don't have to take on their energy. And certainly, I mean, if there's anything abusive, or if there's anything like, that is too much for your energy, and that, then distance yourself and have an exit plan for that. But just allowing people to be who they are without it affecting you. Okay. That's the biggest thing to be able to do, and to learn from that, is to not let it affect you, to recognize that they are their own person. And again, this goes back to boundaries that we never learned. We were never taught boundaries, right? So having that in there, that makes a big difference. And just, more practice of this, and then making sure you have enough places to validate you and to remind you to build up your confidence. And then the other thing is just remembering that anyone who comes across like they are legitimate and they're so confident in their own legitimacy, that's just, they're no more legitimate than you are. They're no more illegitimate than you. I mean, people have subjective views about themselves, and you can find the most confident person who's an absolute fake, and you can have the most confident person and all they've got is confidence. I hear these news stories about, this latest one. There was some woman who was like a nurse, right? And she impersonated a nurse. Some other guy was a doctor. He pretended to be a doctor. I mean, they have this confidence. It's like sociopathic, psychopathic, that they're able to, do something like that. So we're not asking you to do anything, I mean, they pull that off. So how much more you just being legitimate in your own knowing, in your own intuition, in your own seeing things. When you stop needing someone to validate you, then you're not going to feel nearly as legitimate, or legitimate at all, when you no longer need someone to validate you. All right. So I hope that helps. I can expand on that too for you. Okay. And then Sue wrote to me. Okay, so, oh no, wait, I've got another Sarah. Okay. All right. Sarah wrote to me. So I have another Sarah. So there's two Sarahs. Another Sarah was on here. So this is for the other Sarah. Sarah said that she's been in a long distance relationship for 19 months, so almost 2 years. And she said that with the pandemic, they were unable to see each other. Because, okay, so they have kids and they're in different parts of the country. Okay. So it sounds like there were issues with that. And so she doesn't know how to resolve this. We're trying hard to keep things together. It's getting more complicated. She doesn't know what to do. Okay. So this has been almost 2 years, and they've seen each other. Oh, and that whole time, they've only seen each other for 10 days. Okay, so almost 2 years, only 10 days. Wow. So it sounds like there's a lot going on here that is beyond your control. Okay. And in the middle of a pandemic, when there's things going on with that, with COVID and everything, and different restrictions depending on where you are, and it sounds like you might be okay. So it sounds like if that is happening to you, and you have okay, so, and this goes for anything. When you have circumstances beyond your control, you look at how much control can you and the guy that you're with in this relationship, how much control can you have, right? So what can you control? So both of you need to be looking at what you can control. You can't control what's happening externally. You can control what's happening internally. So that means in your relationship, you can see each other all kinds of other ways. I mean, obviously, both of you, there's extenuating circumstances here with your children involved that I'm not going to get into, but clearly that means that those days that you have seen each other, that are very few, you're doing in the best interest of the kids, because you don't want to get locked down again, and you don't want to have to be cut off from seeing your kids, and there's problems and implications with that. Okay, so I get that. So what the two of you have to do is you have to be on the same page to deal with this within the ways that you can control it. And this is the test. If the two of you are on the same page here and you're able to work together on this, then you're going to be able to get through this, and you're going to be able to weather whatever external circumstances, because this is not going to be forever. Okay. It's not going to be forever. But what is important is for you looking realistically at, okay, how much is that happening? Right. So how much realistically are the two of you able to be on the same page and be communicating realistically about how to see each other? I mean, that is the other question. Are both of you on the same page? I mean, I want to go back and ask that. Are both of you on the same page? Are both of you looking at realistically the situation and the factors that are beyond your control? And do you both agree? Because if you're not in agreement here on how to handle this, I mean, yeah, this is a unique situation, but there will be other unique situations when you have kids involved. And how are the two of you going to be able to handle those things? Are you going to be able to work together and do you agree with each other? Is there enough agreement here? So compatibility, really, it's unfortunate. It's so unfortunate what this time, the last couple of years has wrought with everybody. I mean, it's tragic what people have gone through and all these things. But the reality is, there will be circumstances like these things, and they reveal the relationship, they reveal the compatibility, they reveal who the two of you are. And so if you can look at that as you are finding out who each other is under really extreme circumstances, but you're finding that out. And now as a result, you are going to know more about compatibility. You're going to know more about him in a worst case scenario where you wouldn't have had to address this before, and now you do. So I would look at it that way. It is complicated, but here's what I would look at. What is complicating it? Is it the circumstances that are complicating it, that are outside of your control? Or is it the circumstances that are within your control complicating it? Okay, so is it the two people involved? Is it this person? Is it this man? Is he complicating it? Is it the lack of compatibility that's complicating it? Or is it really external circumstances? Because this, you'll have other situations, other things that can come up when you have kids. He has kids, you have kids. And there's things that will come up that will be complicated. But the key is, who's complicating this? Is it just circumstances? Because there will always be things to deal with. Or is it that the two of you are, that there's compatibility issues, and there's underlying issues here that need to be addressed that have so much more to do with actual, the relationship of you guys, not just what's going on here, that you can't control. So I would look at that, Sarah, and I would look at what you can do here. What is within your control, and is the complication because you're willing to do that and he isn't, or is the complication because he's willing to do it and you're not? So that's what I would look at, like, where does the complication come from? Because there will always be external circumstances, although these are extreme ones, of course. But what does this say about the handling of it and how compatible the two of you are? That's how I would look at it. All right. Okay, Sarah, and then all right, and then one more on here. Okay, this is Audrey. And so Audrey had talked about this guy who she's having a really hard time getting over. And she basically says that she finds herself thinking about him, this guy that she can't get over. Audrey says she still remembers their last date, sang her goodbyes. He gave me a soft, warm kiss on my forehead, and that would be the last day I ever saw him. I miss him terribly, Jane, she writes, and I wish he could be back in my life again. Although we only knew each other a few short weeks, there was so much potential between us if only we gave it a fair shot. I feel like reaching out to see if maybe, just maybe, he misses me as much as I've missed him. And will he want us to pick up where we left off, or do I just move on? Would I come across as a low-value woman if I were to reach out? What if he's actually waiting for me to? I don't know what to do, but I can't stop thinking about him. I feel like it ended before we could even start. What are your thoughts? Thank you so much. Okay, so the question to ask yourself is, reaching out to him going to be worse? Is it going to set you back? Because, I mean, honestly, I can tell you this. It is true that if a man wants to be with you, he'll be with you. The tender way that he said goodbye on the forehead, I'll tell you, there's everything for that in there for me. That is how the guy that inspired all of this, okay? The guy that I was in this relationship with for 3 years, where I stayed too long. I've written extensively about that. That's how he kissed me goodbye. A soft, warm kiss on my forehead. Okay? Never, ever was there ever a chance that he would have wanted me back, ever. Okay? And I could have done everything. I mean, I did reach out to him again at one point, and it was just awkward. I was like, how are you? Just want to check on you. Why? Right? I needed to, and I just wanted to. And So I will honestly tell you, someone kissing you, that soft, warm kiss on the forehead, knows it's over. It's over. And okay, I at this point, I mean, no, it doesn't matter how you would come across. It doesn't matter because it's over. There is no getting back with him. So the only reason that, because he would let you know, he would be coming to you. He would be the one. The only person to do this for, the only person to reach out again to him with is you. For you. That's it. That's it. So he's not waiting for you to do that. I will clarify that. He's not waiting for you to do that. Okay. The way that you said goodbye to him, um, because he said to you, you wrote me a long one here, but I'll just add in this piece. He said he wasn't quite ready to date or to be in a relationship so soon. He felt he needed to be honest with you. Okay. This is a good guy. He's being honest with you. Okay. So if he is being that honest with you, and this again is speaks to the fact that he kissed you goodbye sweetly, tenderly, warmly on the forehead. Okay. It's over. It's over. There is nothing left. He is not waiting for you. He's not. So the only reason to reach out would be for you to do it for you. But I will tell you this, okay? Because sometimes I don't advise against, in all cases, reaching out to someone, because sometimes we have to. We need to get more information. We didn't get enough information, okay? If you want to find out, if you want to hear it again from him that he's not ready for a relationship, if you want him already and you're willing to have something different with him. So basically, I guess what I'm saying is, if you want to go back to rekindle friendship, like if you want to say, hey, I miss you so much and I would love to be friends. I realized the way we ended it, we weren't friends. We didn't end it with where we were going to go from there. Okay. Because it's been a few weeks. So if you want to say to him exactly what you said to me and say, I find myself thinking about you and I miss our friendship. I miss the fact, yeah, I did hear you when you said you're not quite ready to date again or to be in a relationship so soon. And I really respect you for being honest with me. So if you want to say that and then add, but I am wondering if there's room for us to be friends. I would like to be friends. In fact, I wouldn't even say it that way. I would say, lately I've been thinking about the friendship that we no longer have. And I, would love to still have that friendship with you. But the thing is, so I mean, you could say that, but the thing is, Audrey, here's my concern. My honest concern is that you're fooling yourself, that you're not going to be content with friendship, that you're going to believe that if you can just be friends with him, you can just, get more out of him, that you can persuade him, that you will convince him that eventually the two of you together is going to be enough, that there's going to be more here. And I don't see that happening. I see that being hard on you. I see him. I mean, he's clear. I mean, yeah, you pulled back completely, but he was telling you he's in. So I don't think you can. I think you pulled back because you want more than just being friends. The only reason that I would ever backtrack here and go and reach out again is if you can legitimately have a friendship with him. And I think I talked about that in one of my videos not too long ago, about being friends. And I think it was, can I be friends with him? Or there's a video on there. But if you can legitimately be friends with him, then you can do that, because it's different, right? You're reaching out, you're saying, hey, I realize I miss our friendship. But if you can't, if you're going to feel like you're on the begging end, if you're going to be wanting more, if you're going to be coming at it wanting more from him, I think it's going to only hurt you, because it's not going to magically change him. It's not going to make it better. He knows how to find you. If he was ready, he would find you. He's saying, I'm not ready. This was too soon. I shouldn't have been dating you. I wasn't fair to you. But if you want to rekindle a friendship out of this, then you can say that to him and you can communicate that to him, that you would like to be, you'd like to keep the friendship. You'd like to have something of a friendship with him, that you miss him as a person. But if you can't do that with strength and you can't do that with your own power, I think it's a really slippery slope before you're right back here feeling like he's picking up on that you want more and you are trying to convince yourself you don't want more. So I think there's some work you need to do first before you reach a decision on what you're going to do. And it involves looking honestly at, are you capable of being just friends with him? Are you capable of just going back to, of having just that with him? Okay, because I know this is really, it's hard. It is hard. And like I said, there have been times when I've said, go back and get more information. I mean, there are some of us who only learn. There's some of us who are so stubborn. We only learn by going back and doing the same thing and just being shown the same thing all over again. And we have to be shown the hard way. We're stubborn. We need to get that more information. We need to see it and see it again and just have our hearts broken again. I don't know. So I mean, I caution against that because it also sets you back and it sets you getting over him. But if you know there's more information you need to see here, go get it. But be honest with yourself and be realistic about what you can expect in return. Okay. Yeah, but I know that's hard. I know that's hard to do. All right. That is that's all that I have got time for on of the ones I picked. But Jennifer had a question on here I want to answer real quick. And she wanted to know how you know if a man has emotional intelligence in the beginning. Thanks for hanging on here with me. Jennifer, you can always hit the replay and hear this again. How can you know if a man has emotional intelligence in the beginning? Okay. So the biggest way that you're going to know that is by paying really close attention to how he deals with normal feelings. Okay. And so things that someone would feel, there's two parts of this. It's recognizing the feelings. It's recognizing how he handles feelings, if he admits to having feelings, if he sees something and he gives like the cover up answer or the more macho answer, or if he actually acknowledges how he feels. I mean, if you're watching something that's sad, does he like acknowledge that that's sad? Do you see something from him? Okay, so that's part of it. Just knowing he's not going the macho route and he's doing feelings. Okay, that's part of it. But the biggest thing of this is consistency. It is really hard to know in the beginning because a guy can be really good at faking it. He can have read whatever he's needed to read up on this. He can through trial and error figured out how to win someone over, and he can be really good at playing the part in the beginning, and so it isn't something that's really easy to tell if someone, in the very beginning, you're going to need some time. And that's just, unfortunately, I know, I wish we would know immediately, but, you will. Okay. So I'm going to make this a little easier. You will know for sure if he doesn't have emotional intelligence. Okay. That will be clear. That will be the macho answer. That will be the guy answer. That will be all that stuff. Okay. So you're going to see that. You're going to see if he is not emotionally intelligent early on. That's going to be easy. What is not going to be so easy is seeing if he consistently has emotional intelligence consistently and that it's not just an act. Okay. So that piece, give yourself that. So, I mean, that 3 to 4 months is key. Generally, a guy cannot hold a behavior and keep it sustainable for more than the 3 or 4 months time frame. So you're going to need 3 to 4 months to know for sure. But you will have clues early on, and those clues will be how he handles feelings, how he deals especially with his own emotions and his own response to things. And then things about, like, because I talked about this, where if something is important to you and you bring it up, how does he handle that, right? How does he handle, is he able to read you? And does it feel more like he's just reading you? Or is he able to, like, reading you to manipulate you, or reading you to, and that could be a little bit trickier, but I want you to be able to be focused on like genuineness. Like, how does it seem? Do you feel like it is genuine? Like, how much are your alarm bells going off, or do you have reason to question whether or not he's being genuine here? That's what I would look at with that. But really, honestly, it's time, it's consistency. Over the long run, you need that 3-4 months. But how he handles things, how he reads you, how perceptive he is, how attentive to your needs, and I'm not talking about over the top. I'm just talking about like how much does he pick up on if something is difficult for you, or if you have feelings about something, if you have strong feelings about something, if you are, if you're communicating something to him, like how specific do you have to be before he gets it? Like, do you have to hit him over the head with it, or does he pretty much pick up on it early? So that's what I'm looking for. Like, how much does he pick up on things? Without you having to make it so clear and explain it to him in such detail. That would be what I would be looking for. So, but really it's that consistency. The key thing is consistently good behavior over time. I mean, that's how you know you've got a good guy. It's consistent behavior over time, where you can give him the odd time when he's just had a bad day or rough day, or he's around his friends, or they're whatever's going on, right? Or he messes. You can allow some humanity in here too. But what you're really looking for is consistent behavior over time. That is ultimately the number one thing that tells you who you've got. Because if you're going to be with this guy for a long time, you've got to know, what you've got now. All right. I hope that helps. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I've loved spending Saturday night. If you're in the Americas, or if you're over in the other parts of the world, if you're just waking up, what are we, 8 hours ahead? You're still probably sleeping over in Europe. So, yeah, lots of heartbreak going on in the world. Lots of hurting, lots of hard things going on. And so if you're feeling everything these days, if you're feeling so much more than usual, and you already felt more, be kind to yourself, be good to yourself, take good care of you. And remember, be sensitive to your own sensitivities, and be mindful of your environments and who you're around and who you're spending time with, and how much you're being told, buck up and just get over it, or, move on, or how much you're being influenced by a world that can be very practical and strong and harsh and hard, and, how much you're allowing for your own softness and being around people and environments that speak to you and cradle you and love you back and are kind to you. There's something to be said for being in environments like that, and being around people, who really help you to weather the storms of personal life, and then life in the larger world, and things that you feel. So choose those environments wisely and carefully, and make sure you've got enough support for you and people who love you back and can actually see you and recognize who you are. Yeah, and then keep coming back here. I'll try to have these as regular as I can, so that you have a place to go and be seen and be loved and be heard, and hopefully be felt and get some answers too. So I love having you here. Thanks so much for joining me. I wish you all the best. Sending you all so much love. Yeah, and I'll see you next time. Take care. I believe if you subscribe, you'll be notified of the next ones that I have. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you get the notifications there. And take care. And I'll see you soon. All right. Take care. Bye for now.